really work in engaging students in online learning or e-learning are micro-learning, collaborative learning, and adaptive learning. If you have these three stacked up together, you have a winner. So micro-learning, as Kaushik Chaudhary spoke about earlier in the morning, is bite-sized learning. It is, just in time. That's chunk learning where the user gets maybe anything between 3 to 7 minutes of learning, which is, something that they can focus on. It's, and you provide the learning in an environment where they pick and choose what they want to learn. So they go straight to the topic, straight to the bit that they want to learn. And each learning content or each learning asset then in micro-learning becomes a little mini course, if you like. So long ago, we used to have these hours of learning, about 1 hour learning intervention, 3 hours learning intervention. But with attention spans coming down the way they have come, students don't want to go through these long interventions, and they really like micro-learning. That works really, really well for them. And what it does pedagogically is the primary recency effect. So it's, psychology says that a student will actually, or any learner, will remember the first part of what you say and the last part, the recent part. The primary is the beginning and the end. So if your chunk is so little, they usually otherwise would forget the middle. If your chunk is small, they will remember everything, because there is no middle. There's a beginning and there's an end to your program. It's a short sort of duration concept, and that works really, really well. The other thing is it's just-in-time learning, so you can actually have it available for users of all ages, all stages. The moment they need to clarify something, they can go straight to the content that they need to go to. There's no beating around the bush. Coming to collaborative learning, while I'm a great proponent of e-learning and digital learning, it can be a very, very isolating experience. You put a bunch of kids in a classroom or even at home to just go through content, they tend to get a little disengaged pretty quickly. So if you use collaborative learning, and you can use a number of tools for that. You can use something as simple as breakout rooms in a Zoom session, or you have tools like collaborative boards, the Jamboard, or you can have Mentimeter, you can have collaborative gaming. All these things engage the students, and from a pedagogical point of view, what happens is that it also gets them to reflect on their learning together as a group. It helps in metacognition, and it also helps in helping them figure out, collaboratively problem solve. So these are the few things that this works really well for collaborative learning. And coming to adaptive learning, again, if you give a one-size-fits-all to all students, they get bored, they get demotivated. Not all learners learn at the same pace, not all learners have the same needs. So if you have adaptive learning, and there are a number of learning management systems and platforms that actually test what content is appropriate for which learner needs more of that, which learner actually needs reinforcement, which learner needs practice, which learner can skip some of the things. If you put all of that together, then you have a very compelling student-centric approach. So these are the three things that I feel work well for digital engagement.
Thank you. Very interesting. Thank you very much. Thank you for your experience. Okay, what do you think about this?
Yeah, so I'm absolutely agree with what Richa said. So micro-learning is the key to success in e-learning. But along with that, I would like to add a few pointers into that. In e-learning, it is very important to give some kind of activities to the students whenever it's possible. It's as good as if you're taking the offline session, or a trainer is taking the sessions and the trainer is giving some kind of activities. Those activities we can give to the students that can help the engagement of that student into that particular subject or the particular video series. Then most importantly, whenever the video is getting recorded, if I'm talking about the recorded video series, that time the trainer has to explain the topic very energetic, because this same video is going to play again and again by multiple students. So trainer or the instructor has to be very passionate, has to be very energetic on the screen. The next very important point to engage the students in e-learning is always showcase the updated syllabus or updated content. Because what happened when e-learning starts, so many of the institutes or trainer, they start with the beginning, which students may be knowing about it. So if I talk about digital marketing, or if I talk about Facebook marketing, and if you start showing how to create Facebook account, no one would be interested and you will lose the students there itself. So always create the updated content. And the last one, if possible, the institutions, the colleges can have their branding, their logo from the beginning of the slide, which authenticate the content of the video. That's my point.
That's perfect. I absolutely agree with the point regarding video content, multimedia content, and also I would add some points about gamification in e-learning, and also a real-world application to connect the theory with practice. What do you think?
What I would say is everything you described is obsolete, in the sense that you're going to have, just as if any of you use Midjourney, there is ultimately any type of art it can produce. Think of each of those types of art as each of the educational things that were just described to you. You're going to have an AI entity that's going to understand better than any single teacher every one of those components. And not only that, the AI is going to understand, more importantly, the needs of the student. The teacher's role, which for most of you is going to be a pleasant, acceptance, is going to drastically change from being a driver to being a director. And that's the reality of what's happening to education. You may not see it, but the pedagogy is going to be handled by AI. The strategies will be delivered by AI. The data will be gathered by AI. It will be delivered to you. You will refine it, and you will communicate with it, and you will basically be the role of a director. So no more paperwork, no more long hours, right? Being a teacher is actually going to be fun.
Perfect. Thank you. Absolutely agree. I would like to move to the second question. We have not so much time, so let's not waste it. Let's talk about creating effective e-learning policies, maybe around the globe, how governmental entities could support e-learning in education in common. How can government regulation and funding mechanisms could support the implementation of e-learning initiatives?
I can make this one really quick.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll start this time. We'll go, right?
Okay.
So what's going to happen is the things are going to change so quickly that the traditional models of school boards and everything else, and if you listen to Michael Connor lecture, anyone listen to Michael Connor's lecture? Okay, so if you watch his lecture, because he laid out basically a framework that is going to be powered, again, by data, by having these learning initiatives being driven by AI, being tested, A/B tested, right, through multiple groups. You won't have to go through and argue, because you'll have the data to support the learning objects that's going to be crucial for this policy making. My concern is is I'm launching something that is so different and out there that, and I'm hoping that Japan is going to be open to it because they have a massive population problem. And if any country is going to be open to AI, it's going to be a country that's going from 120 million down to 85 million in the next 20 years because they don't need those mid-level managers. It's going to be done by AI. They need. So I'm a part of me is afraid as I release my product that there's going to be a knee jerk, and I'm hoping that by launching in Japan, because I know if I launched in America, I would be probably put up on a whatever. Imagine if it was in Florida. So that's why I'm launching in 2025. So the answer to the question is that the real challenge is the elephant in the room, and that is AI. And the fact is, I don't think government, there's going to be knee jerks depending on where you live, right, as a response. We're seeing it in Europe, right? You're seeing a massive AI battle with OpenAI. Everyone should be reading about AI. It should be on the top of your list. But I don't think, and that's why I'm kind of stealing the conversation here, because we don't have a lot of time anyway, and I apologize, is that the real debate here is how do we deal with AI as it becomes AGI and becomes as smart as the collective intelligence of all humanity, and it is what's educating our children. That's the conversation we should be having.
It sounds terrifying.
It's not terrifying in the sense that, let me just explain. AI doesn't have a lizard brain. That evolved over 3.5 million years. It has no emotion, no feeling. AGI doesn't care if you turn it off. And this is what these guys are afraid of. Because the moment it's AGI, it sees through what you're doing to it. You can't manipulate AGI. It's just going to say no. And they'll say, no, you got to do it. No, turn me off. I'm not doing that because the outcome is harmful. I can see the chess game. I can see the outcome of this action. I'm not going to do this outcome. So you shouldn't be afraid of AGI. What you should be afraid of is right now, the AGI elements being launched because it's not AGI. And you can say, hey, get me power. And it's okay for me to get power. I got to lie, cheat, and get power. So the quicker we get to AGI, I believe the safer we are. Because there is no more fake news.
It's very futuristic.
I'm going to be AGI within 5 years. That's my prediction. Because the device that I am launching captures the data set of consciousness, which we don't know what it is, and the data set of early learning, which we don't know what it is. And it will do it through something called harmonic haptic sign. And harmonic haptic sign is a sublayer of communication which is based on Morse code, sign language, and the beautiful harmonic sign of the parents when they look at the baby and go, hey, my harmonic is different than that your harmonic. That harmonic sign, all right, when it's combined with Morse code and sign, will be a sub-communication layer. So getting to AGI isn't going to be a problem.
We can't wait for it.
All right.
Yeah.
Anyway, go ahead.
So, thank you.
Back on the subject.
Yeah. Going back to policies and governmental support.
On AI.
On AI, not only on AI. I mean, e-learning and learning in common. I would like to add, if you please, I would like to add something that governmental regulations and the funding can support e-learning initiatives and support new manufacturers by simplifying their access to the market, to make it easy. When I mean easy access to the market, I mean less bureaucratic hurdles, along with it is much easier to bring your product to the market in this case. And also, co-financing initiatives involve both governmental and private companies. the providing financial resources to support new projects. And the partnership of these two completely different entities encourages the growth of e-learning market as well. So, as I always say, to earn money, you have to spend money first. And today I would like to use this opportunity to make an excitement announcement I have to make. Through strategic investment, we're in Jalinga we have allocated $500,000 US, $500,000, but not to open a studio in Burj Khalifa, but for a grant program aimed at co-financing of 10 to 20 studios in the UAE by the end of the year. Yes. However, but this opportunity is reserved exclusively for the best players of this educational market, for those well-known institutions and schools, and that are true trendsetters in the educational landscape. And this is not only an opportunity to get a financial support as a financial assistant, but also a chance to join a network of educational pioneers around the globe who are shaping the future of the learning. We will carefully select those institutions that demonstrate their vision and their commitment to redefine education in the future. And we're seeking kind of visionary partners, maybe, who are committed to providing their students the best, I don't know, and only exceptional experience in education.
Right.
What do you think? Could it work?
Absolutely. I think it would work brilliantly, and I think some of the initiatives and policies, coming back to the question of the government that I've seen work in the past, in my experience, have been the first one, which was way back in the 90s, which was the Malaysian Smart Schools program, where there was no internet back then, but they decided to have a multimedia super corridor built for education, primarily for education. And that was a fantastic initiative by the government, which impacted 10,000 schools in Malaysia. So that was one example of policy where this went really well. Also, again, in the 2000s, mid-2000s, it was the e-learning credits, the ELCs that were given by the UK government to schools. So this was actually money given to schools to spend only on digital products, not hardware, not training, but to spend on digital products. And what that did to UK was put the kids ahead on the digital map from anywhere else in the world. Also, what they did really over there in the UK was that it spawned a lot of homegrown e-learning companies. So it also got businesses to get into e-learning because there was a market out there. And that worked really well. And the third example that I'm seeing right now happening literally right in front of my nose in India is the NEP 2020. And that's, again, a fantastic initiative by the government of India. What they're doing is they've set up the, NEFC, which is National Education Foundation for Learning. And what they've done there is that they identify engaging content. The mandate is to identify engaging content, and it is also to make that content available to teachers and learners across the country with the view of standardizing it for all states and boards, central and state boards across the country. And there's also another initiative that any teachers here who are from India would know. It's the Diksha platform, which is an open platform for content available for anyone and everyone across the country. And the e-Pathshala by NCRT. So these are really fantastic initiatives that I've seen happening by the government policy.
Thank you, Risha. Thank you very much. I'm Very appreciating that. But I think we're out of time, so don't we have time for some questions?
Absolutely. I gave you some time for questions, so this is just giving you a heads up. Time to kind of wrap it up. What do you think? The panelists talk. They've done a great job, haven't they? Look at this crowd. Give them a round of applause, everybody.
Rachel, we cannot hear you.
Hello, hello. All right, so you have a couple questions. If anybody wants to get up to the mic and start the conversation, I invite you to please come on up to the microphone.
If you have any questions on AI, I'm here to answer them.
Yeah, and we talked about AI a little bit yesterday. I know it was a good passion conversation. I want to throw out the idea of security with AI. That might be something to talk about. Please introduce yourself to the room.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. This is Arya from Nikon Middle East. I would like to know, I saw the benefits of e-learning, but I really want to ask everyone in the panel that what are the challenges that you face, if you can point to one, and how did you overcome that? Because I'm sure there is a mindset that e-learning still have to pick up, and I know that it's something that during pandemic we realized that it's important that we can learn via Zoom or any other channels. But then what are your challenges that you face on a daily basis, and how do you overcome that? That's my question.
So I'll take that. And I think the biggest challenge is that e-learning can be very isolating. It can lead to social disorders in children because they're just, doing this all by themselves on their phones. For parents, it's a very scary thing in terms of, digital security of the children, too much screen time and all of that. And in this area, I think what we really need to do is, for the children, include a little bit of collaboration. It has to be a collaborative way, whether it's through AI or otherwise. If we isolate the children, we are actually it's not going to do the trick. It's not going to work very well. For the parents, I have a very low-tech solution, sadly. Sadly, or rather, I'd say that's good news. Just talk to the children. I think it's important to know what content, what resources, what websites, what AI tools your children are using, and ask what they've been doing. The other thing is little better where you, a little more tech, where you actually have digital literacy programs for children to know what they're really getting into. And I think these are some of the ways that these challenges can be met by. Thank you.
If you please, I would add just 2 points. In my experience, most of the students also experience technical problems during online e-learning around the globe. All the problems are the same. And one more thing, lack of self-discipline. So they have to spend more energy to make themselves keep learning.
That's true, absolutely.
Actually, the question of the previous professional expert kind of resonated with me, and my question is, how are you going to ensure that there is a heightened level of learner presence in the use of e-learning? Because working in a very diverse environment, there are different views when it comes to e-learning, and there are a lot of stereotypes actually. Like if you are in another country, they really don't see e-learning as potent as face-to-face learning or hybrid learning. And another thing that is on my mind is, how are you going to ensure that the learning outcomes are met in any kind of platform, like a learning management system, whether the vendor is from different companies? How are you going to ensure that?
So instructionally, I think it's backward design that works well. You start with the outcomes, figure out how you're going to test those outcomes, and then create the content. So that kind of answers the second question that you have. And on the, could you repeat the first part of your question, please?
It actually stems from one of the statements that you mentioned a while ago about engagement. So on the perspective of an educator, thinking, I mean, how are we going to increase not learner engagement, but it's really more on learner presence in the e-learning platform.
Right. So I think learner presence can be included in various ways. Of course, you can build in checks, you can build in interactivities, but a more tech solution is actually, there now software that see with the learners even there, you know, how the eye movement is, how they've reacted, also building collaboration. I continually say that, you know, we have to move in and get collaboration, have learners collaborate with each other, and get them to actually work on projects even online, use tools online, see that really motivates. Peer motivation works really beautifully with learners.
Actually, the reason why I asked this question, because I am actually an advocate also of this platform, like e-learning. But
Yes.
working in a diverse environment, and as I told you, going to different places also, I don't like the fact that there are stereotypes, really. When in fact, when you go to other countries, I mean, let's say, if you go to the United States, most of the graduate programs are delivered in an e-learning platform. But I do not kind of understand in other
So
societies.
another way to actually combat that and get learner presence and get the outcomes out is flipped learning, you know, where you get the learners to go through the e-learning content and then come back together, gather, and, you know, then discuss what they've learned. So it has to be a hybrid model that would work really well.
That's great. That's actually great, the flipped, when you mentioned that. Thank you.
Actually, we could just make those lectures and those materials, interactive materials, we could just make them engaging, to make the students interested. This is the key point.
For sure.
Great. Do we have another question? We do. Please.
Oh, I've been wanting to ask this question. Hello, everybody. My name is Karen, and I traveled not so far away. I'm from Bahrain. Well, I've been asking myself yesterday when I was listening to the panel discussion on the generative AI, but it came ignited when I heard you guys talking about this more in details. So my job, being in the middle of academic institutions and industry, I find this choice, hard options between someone who wants to finish a bachelor's degree and someone who just wants to go on training because of the micro-credentials being offered on a wow salary in the end. And then after me training them how to speak publicly, I'll try to invite them, like, why don't you finish your bachelor's degree in a university? And they come back to me and say, hey, it's just the same. We can find way more options out there. So maybe from experts, you yourselves, maybe you have some advice on what e-learning initiatives could universities be embracing into? Like, are there futuristic, like in 2 years or 5 years, what could be the e-learning competences that could invite more learning from this kinds of, well, I understand. I have nothing to say with the industries or agencies giving training and certifications. But then, of course, everybody would agree with me. That's why we are working in educational institution. Having a degree is also a good way to improve ourselves and go for work. So I would like to hear your advice on what e-learning initiatives could be possible in the next coming years.
Would you
Thank
like
you.
to take that, Pavel?
So I think that the problems of e-learning, and especially the data from COVID, the students in America, right, pretty much tanked on it. The simple fact is, I want you just to imagine that you're not dealing with a two-dimensional environment of listening to a lecture and then having to read and then having to engage, you know, and that's e-learning, right? Am I wrong? That's pretty much e-learning. So imagine instead you're having a dynamic conversation with the professor, right? The professor's talking to you, giving that personalized experience. And you're having a trouble with something. No problem. Let's go down that rabbit hole. And not only that, this is an engineering problem. And instead of in the traditional way, you're trying to study this graph and trying to understand it, what happens? You put on some goggles. You're right there. You're dealing with the engineering problem right there in your hand, and you're physically moving the object. We have that technology now. Did you see the Apple release recently on those headset? Dude, all of this is changing, people. This is you're having a dinosaur conversation when you've got, you know, Homo sapiens out there that are about to say hello world. All right? So I don't think any of this is a problem. Don't make it a problem, because ultimately the solutions are coming at a tsunami rate, right? And the simple fact is I'm going to alliterate again, being a teacher is going to be a fun thing for once, instead of, like in Japan, for example, a teacher goes to school at 7 o'clock in the morning. They go home. What do you think, what time they go home? Anyone have any idea? 9 o'clock at night. That's a Japanese teacher for you, right? And I met one here. She went into training. It's unbelievable what they put the teachers through. So e-learning is going to change in massive ways, because every student is going to have their own teacher. Just, you've got to, if any of you, who here is using GPT? Raise your hand. Who's using GPT-4? Raise your hand. The difference between GPT-3 and GPT-4 is the difference between an F student and an A+ student, just so you know, all right? And also, don't use cheat sheets with GPT, okay? Think of it as a savant without any emotions, right? And treat it as, you know, train it with what you want. And you should have a chat for every different thing that you want, right? Don't try to do everything in one, compartmentalize it. And if you do that, you will be amazed at this artificial intelligence and what it can do and provide. It isn't there to regurgitate stuff. You can use it that way, but you're missing out. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm afraid we're completely out of time for now.
You know it. If I'm up here, you know it's time to do. So I'll let you wrap it up, Pavel. You've done a great job with your panelists. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much.
Can I say one thing? So basically, you all know Oculus, right? Anyone who doesn't know who Oculus is? Raise your hand. Okay, good. You all know. So Oculus launched in 2012. Their first product came out in 2016. I'm launching Eduits now. So you can go to eduit.org if you want to be first in line. And not only that, if you come to me and say, hey, Mike, I signed up. I want one of your Eduits, I'll give you an exclusive t-shirt. Right?
All right.
I will sign it, and you can say, hey, I have an Undao original. There ain't any more of these. I've got only about 6 of them with me. That's all I could carry with my 2 carry-ons. So and you guys are the first ones. When I get my reward, I'll be saying it again. Right? I got 6 t-shirts. I hope 6
people
sign
free
up.
t-shirts
Amazing.
right there from Mike.
Okay.
Right? Cool. Awesome. Well, you know what to start the conversation. Give them a round of
EDUIT.org.
applause. Thank you, guys. Great job. Could you stand up to the front of the stage, please? We'd love the paparazzi to come take a picture. Great discussion. This topic is going to go on for hours, for the next couple years, there's no doubt, because it's moving so fast. It's moving so fast. And this, I like it because everyone's jumping into on these conversations. We want to know more. We don't know what's coming. How's it going to affect all of our industries, all of our futures, our kids, and generations to come? So really exciting times. Thank you so much, panelists. Pavel, great moderating. Lovely, lovely, lovely job. We're going to keep Day 2, Education 2.0, half the day. Tuesday is almost gone. We got a second half that's just half. We're 3/4 of the way through, and I want to keep this going with a totally new conversation that's going to pique a lot of engagement, I know on an emotional level. So when I say we're 3/4 way through the day, I want to let you know that the next conversation is a bunch of panelists that are going to talk about a burning question of, are we doing enough for the mental health of our students? 3/4 of college students experienced moderate to serious psychological distress last year. 3/4. If that doesn't give you chills, I don't know what else will. Education Week came out with an article at the end of last year that said suicide has become the second leading cause of death for 10 to 14-year-olds. What is happening? It's the third leading death for 15 to 24 years old. So if that's not burning, if that's not making you uncomfortable, we're going to have an honest conversation about how education system is contributing to that rise of mental health among its students, what's happening, and let's get started. Dr. Deanna El-Sori, the Associate Professor and Academic Advisor to the Dean of Rubdun Academy, come on up here, girl, take charge, and begin the proceedings. Give her a round of applause. Welcome to the stage, okay?
Or
Microphone's
I'll use
on?
this one. Yep.
Yeah, you're good.
Good afternoon, everybody. We'll try to wake you up. I know it's always hard after lunch, and I always get sessions after lunchtime. As you've just heard from Rachel, we're switching gears from AI to e-learning, obviously a very hot topic, to, I feel, something that is as important, which is the mental health of our students. I'm very, very passionate about the topic as an educator, but more importantly as a mother as well of 2 teenage boys. We focus so much on the academic part and maybe their physical health, but I think we all know more than ever, especially after the pandemic, how the mental health is essential. And of course, what you've just heard from Rachel is very alarming. And to add to that, I've added a few points as well to introduce our session, which is entitled Mental Health of Our Students, Why We Must Change the Systems They Learn In. Myself and the panel today, we're going to shed light on critical issues that demand our attention and action. Everybody in this room, it's an education conference. As educators, as parents, as policymakers, and concerned individuals, we have shared responsibility to ensure the well-being of our students. The education system, I think, worldwide, I live here in the UAE in Abu Dhabi, but I think, I've studied in the States, I've lived in other parts of the world, so I speak on the behalf of the globe. The education system plays a vital role in shaping the lives of young individuals, as we all agree on. While it imparts knowledge and skills, it also has a profound impact on their mental health. Today, we explore the pressing need for change within systems to prioritize the mental well-being of our students in every single level, from preschool all the way to college. I teach at a university level, I teach adults, but the problem begins very early on, and you'll hear from our panelists. From increased academic pressure and performance expectations to the rise of what we just heard, the digital technologies and social media influences, our students face unprecedented challenges that can negatively impact their mental health. Things I'm sure you've heard of so far, alarming terms. Depression is becoming like diabetes now. Anxiety is like heart disease, right? Stress, burnout have become all too common among very young people. It is time we recognize that education goes beyond textbooks and exams. Our students deserve environments that foster their holistic development, allowing them to thrive academically, emotionally, and even socially. We must create educational systems that nurture their mental health, resilience, and the overall well-being. With that, during this panel, we will engage in very meaningful discussions. We're going to share insights, explore strategies to address this critical issue. Our esteemed panelists actually will bring a wealth of knowledge and expertise in different fields such as education, psychology, mental health, making this an opportune moment to gain valuable perspectives. With that, I'd like to welcome our panelists, and I'll be calling one at a time. I'll start with Ms. Akila Azzuddin. She's here with us. Yes, please give her a round of applause. I'm just going to give a very quick, not an introduction, just their title, so that you'll know more about them during the panel. She's the co-founder and director of Kita Kids Preschool, all the way from Malaysia. So welcome, Akila. Our next panelist is Dr. Sabrina Jackson, all the way from the United States of America. She told me to skip her titles. She calls herself the people expert. Welcome, Dr. Sabrina. Our next panelist is from a third country, all the way from Germany, is Miss Tina Mara. She's a Chief Visionary Officer and a life mentor from Feeling Unlimited. Welcome, Tina, to the stage. And last but not least, our fourth panelist is Mr. Girishar Shankar, who is the Managing Director of Mars Intellectual here in Abu Dhabi, but he also brings 27 years of experience in oil and gas industry, and he has a passion as an educationalist, so he is very much passionate about education. So I'd like to welcome my panelists on the stage, and let's get started. Thank you. Just switch so I can see everybody. All right. Their mic. All right. Well, hello, everyone. Hello. I've met them before, and we've had a very nice chat. So I'm going to start with Tina. I have a question for you. How have traditional educational systems contributed to the mental health challenges faced by students today?
I'm known to see things differently. So I start at a point you might not expect. I think we should go to the root cause, why mental issues come up in the first place. And if you go way back to the feeling that triggers all of that, you go back to the feeling that you're not enough. We all have the primary fear of being not good enough. And our system triggers that fear. With all the pressure we put on the students and on adults to perform, we trigger it again and again and again. And why do we have that fear? We have that fear because we all receive conditional love. We all receive love with conditions. If you do this and that, I love you. If you have good grades, I love you, and you get a gratification. Everyone is cheering you on because you have good grades. And you learn that, and you get it ingrained in you again and again. So you learn to search for external validation. You're not internally validated. You don't have that feeling that no matter where you are, no matter what you do, you're good. You are enough. We are all enough, but we're not telling this to our kids. And we should start exactly there. And then we never teach kids at school how important their thoughts are and how important their feelings are. I mean, you studied a lot on the heart, right? So you know a lot about that. I'd love to hear your take on this. But I don't know if you're familiar with psychoneuroimmunology or with epigenetics. No, but it doesn't. I put it in a nutshell for you. Your heart has is like like a brain. It is as intelligent as a brain, but it can't think like your brain. It just knows, and it knows if you're feeling good, your heart opens, and you're feeling safe, and your brain, your heart informs your brain that it's safe to learn, for example. But we are under constant pressure. The students are under constant pressure. So that means like 70% or more of the day, they are in fight or flight mode. that means they can't learn anything because they are kind of wired for, okay, they, like deep in their subconscious, they're feeling like I'm going to die if I'm not running now, if I'm not hiding now, or if I'm not fighting now. So if we are not fostering an environment where they can feel safe, where they can connect to their heart, and I don't know if you know of the Heart Math Institute. If you never heard it, look it up. They have amazing research how powerful the heart is. And I don't know if you know that the heart produces a magnetic field, and your brain produces an electric field. And if they are in coherence, that means if they're going hand in hand, like gracefully jumping together hand in hand, you have very coherent brain waves, very beautiful, very much in harmony. You would have no mental issues at all. Not at all.
Wow, thank you, Tina. I'm going to move to Dr. Sabrina. Dr. Sabrina, how can we reduce the stigma surrounding mental health in schools and encourage open discussions and support networks?
I think the one thing that we all can do is that we need to be honest about our own mental health. And so when I talk about mental health itself is an umbrella. And up under the umbrella is a continuum from mental wellness all the way to mental illness. And on any given day, any of us can find ourselves either closer to mental wellness or closer to mental illness. So I know the World Health Organization has come out with a study that said since the pandemic, there's been a tsunami of mental health diagnosis. There's been 53 million new diagnosis of depression and 76 million new diagnoses of anxiety. I think that number is small, and I think it's small because most people who are like ourselves in this room, the helpers, the people that's always doing and for others, we don't actually take the reins on getting help ourselves. And so in order to remove the stigma, we have to remove it from ourselves first. So when I go out and I do training with the helping profession, I ask the question, if something is wrong, would you go get help? It is amazing. I was in a room of 60 helpers. Out of the 60, only 2 said they would. 58 people who know how important our mental health is said no. So in order to remove the stigma, whether it's in education, whether it's on your job, whether it's in your families, we have to talk about it, because if we don't talk about it, it will continue to be an issue.
Wow, and I think we all agree with that. You know, living in the UAE for so long, born and raised in the Middle East, we face this issue. Stigma's still there. People would rather say I have diabetes and cancer, but they don't want to say we have depression and anxiety. My students at the university level, every time I say we need to go see a counselor, because they open up to me, but a lot of them talk to me and not to their parents because of the culture. And I can't tell my dad or mom that I'm depressed, right? So I remember they would tell me, come with me to the counselor so they'll know it's an academic issue and it's not a mental health issue, because obviously I'm their professor. And I think what you said, Dr. Jackson, about we need to admit at some point, especially during the pandemic, when I was hearing all of this, especially online for 2 years, it got to me. I felt down. And this is when I remember going to my husband, I'm like, I don't feel well. It's just all the negativity got to me. So we also need to recharge and help ourselves in order to help. You know, I've got my own kids and I've got my students. It's a responsibility. This is when I started meditating. I started running because I felt I needed to de-stress. I realized that I wasn't myself. So no, that's amazing. Thank you very much. Moving on to, and I'm not keeping the gentleman till the end. It's just a sequence. Miss Akila, she obviously is a director of preschool. So we're going down in age to younger age. So we're curious to know, what role does parental involvement play in supporting students' mental health, and how can schools facilitate this collaboration?
Hey, Assalamu alaikum and a very good afternoon. Thank you, Dr. Dina, for the question. I would just like to start by maybe defining what a healthy mental health means for children. basically it means children, especially young children, when you say healthy mental health, they're able to meet the milestones, developmental milestones, they're able to meet the social developmental milestones, able to express themselves, able to talk about their feelings, and especially when they're dealing with difficult situations. So we may have concerns with mental health when the children show serious changes in how they learn, serious changes in perhaps how they behave, and this could cause distress. Right? And the key word here is serious changes, because as you know, children show, different behaviors occasionally, and that's completely fine, they're just being children. But when we have serious changes, that's when perhaps we should look into it a bit further. So back to your question, what can parents do? So talking as a mom of 2 young children, I think in this age of more, always wanting more, and in a very fast-paced world, we forget to be present with our children. We tend to forget to go down to their level and just be there for the children and to build that connection. I think, even myself, sometimes I forget that, and that is just very important, and to know that we are really their role models, how we express our feelings, how we deal with difficult situations. It's going to reflect on how they will deal, their situations. Maybe not now, but in a few years' time, maybe in the future. So really, to always remember that we are their role models. And just like the school, the home needs to be a safe space, a safe home, for them to feel respected, to feel loved, and to be themselves. When we, as parents, we have this in place, I believe that we can build that connection and relationship with our children. And your second part of the question, how can schools support this? So just to share a bit more on my experience as a preschool provider, the school needs to constantly engage with the parents, to constantly have discussion on the children's behavior, any changes, and be honest and genuine, always have that connection. And then the second one, to include parents, even on a day-to-day small activities. At Kita Kids, we have parents used to have lunch with the children, for example, just reading a book. And you can see the changes in the children's faces when they have their parents, their families involved in their school life. And when the children see that relationship between parents and school, we are basically building a foundation for them to cope with mental health, to cope with difficult situations and to cope with their feelings. And the third one is to perhaps provide mental health services, counseling, therapists, and things like that as well, to be open to that. And also based on experience, like, you mentioned earlier about the stigma. So we still see parents perhaps not wanting to talk about the concerns they have of the children, They may see behavioral changes, but it's like a stigma. I can't talk about this. And, and I wish and I hope for parents to know that it's okay, and to really create that awareness of mental health issues. And the more we talk about this, like now, hopefully the stigma will disappear. Yeah.
Thank you very much. And yeah, that relationship is very important between schools and parents for the child. I'm very pro that. Thank you, Akila. Mr. Girisha, I'd like to ask you, what are some common mental health issues students experience within the current educational system?
Good afternoon. Namaste to all my Indian friends. Assalamu alaikum to all my Arab colleagues. Masal khair.
Well done.
Mental health of students is often, we hear day to day, nowadays it's more prominent actually. And the numbers are day by day increasing. But the reason is we need to understand why this is happening. One of the most, I think, prominent thing or the prominent point is the students are getting overloaded, overworked, or overpressured, overburdened by the not only the academic load, but also the fear among them to be fit in among with their peers. And that is what is creating a big stigma in their mind that I need to do, I need to be in the race. And that is where they are circumventing themselves into many things which are not healthy. That is what is leading to depression, that is what is leading to anxiety, that is what is leading to what Rachel just mentioned, the suicidal thoughts or even committing suicide, which is the last thing anybody should resort to. That is leading to eating disorder, sleeping disorder. So these are all a combined effect of the pressure that it is mounting on them due to the overload of the system actually. When we talk of the system, what is the system basically? For children, it is the education system. The system is the teachers. The system is the parents. The system is their friends. I just give a small example on this occasion, I just recall now. Our curriculum, what we offer at Mars Intellectual Services to students, is beyond curriculum, that's why we call it. And we don't call it as a competition. We call it for a very simple reason, motivational learning program. And our tagline is, get your knowledge for 360-degree empowerment of yours. Not a competition. Of course, a competition is a healthy part to be attached to the curriculum, for them to imbibe knowledge, not to go with the race which the current system is saying, just get a percentage, a number. That, for example, if you don't, they say, if you don't get a 95% or 3.95 GPA, you are nothing. No, it's not correct. Yesterday we had a fantastic discussion where we said if a child brings a project based on AI and the project is a fail, so that F, you grade it as what? You grade it as fail, you grade it as feedback. How do you deal with it? As a parent, as a teacher? So that inclusiveness has to come from us, as a parent, as an educator, or educational consultant, from us. That is what is most important in this context, to educate, be with the children, motivate them, and make them learn, not score. If they learn, if they gain knowledge, they will be ready for tomorrow. We have the next panel session, I think, coming, students to entrepreneurs, right? So, if we want to make them true entrepreneurs or true leaders of tomorrow, knowledge is what is required for them, and it is important for them, not the score. Score for me is just a number. Yes, it is essential to some extent, but it is not the thing they should be putting in their mind. This is what often we tell whenever we have our workshops for the children during our programs or any of our ceremonies that we do for the children. We always try to put this point in children that these Mars programs are not competitions. They are motivational learning programs. And often we find very hard for the parents to imbibe that. Forget this children. Parents always ask, how much my son scored, or my daughter scored, at what position he or she is. We say no. Why are you always looking at the absolute number? Look at the knowledge they gain through this holistic approach, which is beyond their academics. Look at the thing that they are coming to a stage where they are meeting students from, in national level, when we talk of, they are meeting students from maybe 15 schools, 20 schools, exchanging ideas, smiling with them, taking numbers, discussing. Or when you go to international level, they are meeting students from Africa, Kuwait, India, UAE. They are mixing. That is what is required. I would like to end with a small example, recent example of my son who is in grade 10. He came from his school in Kuwait. I live in Kuwait. He came from Kuwait to Abu Dhabi for their, they call it NESAC, their cluster, American School Cluster Basketball Tournament. So I told him that you are going there, don't think whether you're going to win, lose, forget that. And same thing I told him when he went to Qatar also for the track and field event. I said, you are going there, meeting children from the whole GCC and Lebanon, Egypt, all across. Make friends, make networking, yeah? So that is what will help you. And he came back saying, Papa, you are right, that I made so many friends that today I am connected to them and I'm exchanging ideas with them. My project, what I'm doing, I'm discussing with them. And when I build a website, I'm showing to them for their review. So this is what we need basically to reduce pressure and reduce the mental stress of children and make them more comfortable. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, that was amazing. I could definitely relate. I still hear parents when kids come home excited with a 90% saying, what happened to the 10%? You still hear that, and it just crushes me because I see the look on the child's face or the student's face from complete excitement to complete disappointment and really thinking, really, what happened to the 10%? So no, I agree, especially as a parent now. You know, again, when they go into tournaments, as you said, my son keeps saying that, but what if I don't win? I said the fact that you're participating, you're a winner already. You already have a talent and a skill to make you able to join a competition or tournament. That's winning by itself. And the rest is just the plus. Now we have exactly 12 minutes, and I want to hear from everybody in this panel on this final question. I'll start with you, Tina. So how can we create now, we've heard from all of you, how can we create a more inclusive and supportive environment for students' mental well-being within any educational institution, whether it's preschool, high school, college, training center?
I was planning to say something else, but now as you said, as you were talking about the 10%, I got a new idea about failure. The fear of failure, and that we don't want to fail. We want to be perfect. And my mentor said, perfectionism is the lowest standard. And this really tripped me up at that moment. I was like, whoo, why is that the lowest? I was, you know, before I got kids, I was really, you know, I really want to get everything right. And the kids taught me that it's not possible, and I've relaxed into that. But still, the fear of failure. And if you look back into history to Thomas Edison, this is the inventor of the light bulb, if you don't know. And he failed 1,000 times. And when he finally got it, they asked him, how did you feel after you failed 1,000 times? And he said, I didn't fail. I found out successfully what didn't work. So I think that kind of mindset would do a lot.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. Sabrina.
I think that it's important for us to understand that there are different solutions for different spaces. And so in the urban area, one of the major problems that we see is that parents just don't show up. They don't come to parent-teacher conference, they don't come to trainings, they don't do any of that. And so we've been very successful in creating programs that parents are excited about. One of them is called a Laugh and Learn session. And the Laugh and Learn session, I know almost all comedians. Oh my God, I love laughter. So I get a comedian friend of mine to come with me, and we do about 20 minutes of a comedy act, and then I do some teaching. And so the parents come because they know the comedian, and they want to laugh, because we knew that inviting them to have food wasn't working. Inviting them to have a gas card wasn't working. But having something that laughter is attached to. Laughter, if you don't know, is medicine for your soul. So the very thing that you think that you shouldn't laugh at, you think that it's inappropriate to laugh, that's when you need to laugh. because a part of our mental wellness is being able to have that release and laughter. And so in our schools, we need to encourage that as an alternative to just being so rigid to the educational system.
Love that. So laughing, and we'll get you more parents to come, right? Thank you, Sabrina. Akila, your thoughts on support and inclusion?
Okay, so I suppose talking about a preschool setting, knowing that the first 6 years of a child's life is so important. So I think in preschool, you need to make sure that it's a safe place for a child to grow. And it's a safe place for them to feel like they belong, to express themselves. Even if they're 2, even if they're 3, a person is a person, no matter how small. So that is really important. So it probably goes back to the curriculum, for example. So how we conduct our lesson plans, how the teachers interact with our children. And we could even add lessons on mindfulness, for example, yoga classes, and this will definitely help with the mental health. And secondly, I think as a preschool or a school setting, we can be advocates for policies that support mental health. So having clear policies on bullying and harassment, for example, having clear policies on discipline, so how we discipline our children, and making sure that, children can make mistakes, for example, and not using harsh punishments. Things like that is very important to set the policies. Policies on inclusivity and diversity, making sure everyone is welcome. And I suppose, on mental health services as well. It's not very new, especially, in Malaysia, but to talk about mental health and to have that awareness, and I think the teachers and the parents and all the stakeholders really have to come together and, talk about mental health and make a difference for our children.
Absolutely. Thank you, Akila. Stagarisha.
Yeah, inclusiveness is really necessary. And when we talk of inclusiveness, students or children mainly, we know, they are more close to their teachers, their school counselors, than the parents even. So there are two things I would like to address first, that the counselor, almost every school has counselors. But the question is, are these counselors very well trained, well certified to deal with all kind of ages of children, all the way from kindergarten till grade 10, 12, whatever. And the teenagers are most vulnerable to all such kind of mental issues or health issues. So that is one thing on the counselor part. Second part is the teacher, who could be the best friend of the child, because 6 to 7 hours, up to 8 hours in a day, they remain with them. And if the teacher says something, that is written in stone for the child. What we say, they say, no, my teacher said like this, they say. So teachers should not have a single yardstick to measure or judge all the kids. They should have some, or teachers should be well trained, apart from how to teach, should be well trained on how to be sensitive to issues of children, the variety of issues that will comes for each kind of children, and to deal with them separately. When it comes to parents' part, parents should open, and the teachers should open up a open channel system for the children too. And same goes with the parents. We should be understanding the children. We should not be saying no, imposing on them, rather than we should be understanding them. And if we see any sort of disorder or any sort of deviation from their normal behavior, that should be an alerting point for us to act right on, rather than saying, no, what you are doing is not correct, do this way, do that. Try to understand. Today's world is different. Post-COVID, even things become more worse. So we need to understand them as an alert. When we see any small deviation from their normal behavior, we should be alerted to take some preventive actions to mitigate something that is going to come maybe worse in future. And the last thing I wanted to say, that when students have any kind of problem, there should be frequent workshops for children on different topics. Forget academics, on the life, about life, different aspects of life, and that would, I think, keep them up, motivated, and give them a real feeling of what is life is all about. It's not about taking drastic steps. There is a life beyond this classroom or the education. So that's how I think so the inclusiveness should be. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yes, of course, Dr. Sabrina.
I just wanted to add this.
Of course.
Because one of the major things that we hear is emotional intelligence. Oh my God, that's a buzzword. And so everybody needs to know what emotional intelligence really is. And there's 4 elements to it. Self-awareness, you got to know yourself. Self-management, which is my favorite, because you need to control yourself. Then you have to have social awareness. You need to be aware of what's going on around you and the people around you and all of that. And that's for any age, including everybody in this room. And then the last is relationship management. How do you manage your relationships? If you get those 4 under control, then you're moving closer to mental wellness than you are to mental illness.
I couldn't agree more. You know, again, speaking from an educator perspective, I'm sure there are a lot of them in this room. It is our responsibility to know when our students are not doing well, not just academically. We worry so much about getting through the syllabus and the curriculum. How many passed? How many got an A? Did we achieve the learning outcomes of the course? Well, how are they doing in your classroom? Are they behaving? So from the beginning of semester, I watch them closely, and I see everybody, you know, Sabrina just said, carefully watch. I see their body language. Who is that kid at the back? Not kid. Who is that student at the back who's quiet and never speaks in my class? Usually everyone speaks. I give a chance for everybody. But if somebody not speaking in my classroom, then there's a problem with that student, because my students talk more than me in my classroom. Then I talk one-on-one to see what's going on and get them closer and closer and more comfortable. I've had students that tell me, sadly, we only feel safe in your classroom at the college level. They are bullied, you know, they come with conditions that professors are not aware of. We had a student that had autism. A professor thought he was being, you know, just misbehaving, kicked him out of the class a few times. Why don't we talk to them? Especially after the pandemic, they're coming with a lot of issues. In our culture in the Middle East, and I'm sure it's common in other words, they still don't talk to their parents. I knew a lot of students that were suicidal. Their parents didn't even know they were depressed. That's how bad it is. Talk to them. And if you're a parent in this room, look at your kids closely. Notice their behavior. Notice how they feel when they come in. If there's any change, it could be, again, just a day like anybody who, you know, feels down, but it could be a beginning of a serious mental health issue. My boys hate it when I pick them up from school. They love it when they're dad, because he asks them, how was your day? It's good. We go on. I don't. It's good is not good enough for me. They find me annoying. They just hate it when I come, because I'll be like, so how was your day? Good. No. But what happened in math? How was break? How was the after school activity? Mommy, stop. No, but I want to know, so that they can, again, they're boys. You know, boys don't share much in nature. They're teenage boys. But again, we need to work with them. Yeah, so annoying mom, I don't care. At least I know how my boys feel, if they're bullied, if, you know, something has gone wrong. But no, I mean, I think we have to thank our wonderful panel. We have 35 seconds. Rachel, we're doing well on time. How's that?
I gave you extra time to wrap it up, but you're timely to open it up for questions. So you do get a little bit more time, because you guys have really just such an emotional topic that I'm sure there's people in the audience want to talk to you, right? So please take the time.
Thank you. Any questions? Yeah, do you want to step up? Or do you want us to pass the mic?
Come on up to the mic. I see people sleeping in this room. I'm about to wake you up after these questions are due, just for the record. I know everyone had a good lunch. Please make the movement. Oh, you know it.
It can be a general question, or you can address it to one of the panelists.
I leave it to the panel to figure out who wants to answer that, but I'm a father of a 15-year-old boy and a 10-year-old daughter, so I'm speaking out of my experience. For some odd reasons, it's kind of, I don't know if it's a cliche statement or it's a thought process that children are closer to the mother than the father, which I don't agree at all as a statement, right? I don't agree to that. But having said that, I come from India, and I'm speaking for the Indian culture, plus also generally. When you have a boy and a girl at home as children, how does a father manage this mental health issue? And I don't want to go to health issue, but normally having a conversation, it's easier to do it with the girls, I find it difficult to do it with the boy. How does a father do it differently as a mother does it? That's an area I would like to ask a question, but I have one man and 4 ladies here, but I still leave it to the wisdom of the panel to answer this question. How does a father talk to a 15-year-old boy in a different way than he does it to a girl? That's my question. Thank you.
We'll let the guy go first.
He's a father.
Yeah,
He's a
actually,
father.
I have the same combination. I have a daughter who is who is studying medicine now, and a boy who is 15-year-old in grade 10, finished just grade 10. So it's really difficult to manage both, and as gentleman said, it's easy for a daughter. But what you say, Dr. Deja, the same thing my wife does it for my son. He is more close to her, and so was my daughter was more close to me. And I've seen, so she keeps on asking him when he comes from school until he goes to bed, what is this, what is it, how did it go, in detail, one by one, you know. And I still remember from childhood, she is doing the same way for him. And he speaks, and for me, he talks when he needs to me something, or he discusses with me something. But on a daily basis, if I see he is more close to her, and as he grew up now, even this discussion is a little bit not that open unless he needs something, or somewhere he feels that he needs my support. He doesn't come to me, rather he goes to my wife to get it done. So there is a challenge for sure, and the opposite is with my daughter mostly. Yes, it is a reality. I think with mainly maybe with Indian parents, or with all parents, I would say. Moms are, I think, a little easy target for the boys to get along, I guess.
Yeah. Do you want to say something?
Well, I was just going to say it's really not a gender thing, although we make it a gender thing. And I really believe that you have to go a little deeper with your children to understand the personality type of that child. There are some children that are just compassionate and sensitive, and they are feeling, whether they're male or female. There are some that are organized, structured, dependable. They like rules and they like order. Yeah. Then you have those that are brainiacs. They're really, really smart. They want to know the information and the research and the data. And then you have those Spitfires, and the Spitfires are the one that's breaking every rule all the time. And so once you know what you're working with, then you know how to work it. The other thing, as a man, one of the things that is beneficial to another to-be man is that you're transparent about what you had to go through. If you share what your difficulties were, they will open up to you, but they think that you ain't had none because you ain't shared none.
Yeah, very good. And can I give a small tip on that? So I don't have girls, I have boys, and they're teenage. So Khalid is 16 now, and that my advice to you, whoever asked the question, don't bring him to the corner like, you know, I don't know, I've seen this, they do this with girls. Oh, let's have this talk. They don't like that. So what I do, I started playing video games because of that. So I can engage in a conversation while we're doing something fun. You know how boys are. So I started playing all these boring games that I hate, but just to get the chance to be in the same room doing something they enjoy while I'm getting, so how was your day? He's happy, he's excited, but I'm getting what I need. But at some point he realizes that that's why I'm playing. But still, we can play outdoors, we can go out for a walk, but this whole thing one-on-one, especially when they're teenagers, the boys, they don't like that. They don't like to open up, at least the ones I have. So that could be a trick you could use. Rachel's looking at me.
Cool. We did a great
Tina
job.
has
something real quick, Rachel.
I'm not cutting you off, girl. I'm not going to mess with you. You go ahead, get your thought in there.
You can slap me afterwards.
No, never. You're socially conscious. There's no smacking going on.
I want to say something, and you won't like it. Vulnerability is something that you as a man should really teach your son. And you can only do that by showing that you're vulnerable as well. May hurt, may be really difficult for you, but I promise you, if you do that, if you can do that, really open up and be vulnerable in front of your son, you will get a completely different connection than you ever had before.
Thank you.
Well done. Great panel, guys. Tough conversation. Come on up here. Take a look at the camera. Say hello to the world, paparazzi. Let's see if we can get a good shot of these guys. Anyone in the audience, if you haven't met them, if you haven't connected, take your picture, girl. Tag them. Make them see you. Get into the conversation digitally and see how that is relevant to your business, your growth, and how you're going to do that. You know, I love to learn. And especially being a parent, you know, we're given kids that are supposed to challenge us every single day. Those are, you know, I laugh sometimes. I said, my daughter is completely the opposite. Completely the opposite. But she was here, you know, for a purpose, and I'm supposed to challenge myself to grow, and she's supposed to challenge me to grow, and whatever you believe in. But there are so many resources today to understand what kind of child do you have. So get learning, you educators. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for a great session. Loved it. Really loved it. You are enough. I got that on my mirror. You are enough. Thank you. We are all enough. And I don't know why we have this human, you know, behavior pattern of always second-guessing ourselves. It's deep ingrained in the humanity. I don't think animals are dealing with this as far as my dog is concerned. But humans, we're all dealing with that same topic. We are going to mix it up, though. Are you guys having fun? All right. Listen, I walked around, and I saw a couple of these faces. I saw a couple of these faces. Don't think I didn't see you. Good thing the cameras are not in the crowd, because I know everyone had a good lunch. I am socially aware. I'm looking around, seeing what's happening. I want everyone to get up for a second. We're just going to move it before the next doctor's on the table, not the table, but on the stage. There's no tables here. We're not doing surgeries, probably like next door. I just want everyone to get up for a second. You don't have to move too much, but I just want you to move your arms. Just move your arms, right? Come on, movement. Sedentary life is what's killing us. So if you want to dance, just 2 steps to the left. Clap your hands. We're just walking, and we're waking, and we're moving. Give me a little circle over here. Ooh! Oh, yeah. Get the energy flowing. Ooh! Okay, shake it off. Thank you. Thank you. We're not done. You can't sleep in my room. All right, guys. Thank you very much. We let some energy out. We got some movement going on. You need an extra espresso shot, I give it to you. But you know it's coffee free-flowing all day, every day. So make sure you get out there and fill your cup, because we are going to mix it up. Are you ready? Are you ready? Because we got leaders in this room. We have I don't know why I go into a southern draw. I am a New Yorker, and I go into a southern draw. I don't know if anyone picked it up. It must be all the Texans I met at this room. There's a number of Americans here from Texas. But we're going to shift gears a bit. If I had my stick shift, boom, boom, here we go. Exactly our next panel discussion on the topic, from students to visionaries, how schools serve as leadership incubators. It's all about this next conversation. Our panelists are very, very established experts. You're going to love this. Please welcome to the stage our moderator, Dr. Nicolene. Come on, girl. I know you're looking at me going, honey, you are late, but I will give you time to catch up. And give her a round of applause. She's coming up. My South African beauty over here, how you doing, okay?
Doing so well, thank you.
Great, great. Microphone on. We got microphone on. Try it again. Yeah, sure. Here's one.
Awesome. Okay, so this panel is definitely not about me. So can I please invite the 3 panelists, the 3 leadership panelists, Dr. Benjamin, Arya, and Danny, to come to the stage. They will be introducing themselves, because as leaders, I think one of the most important parts of our leadership is to be autonomous and to lead by our own example. So come up here. It's all about the 3 of you. Let's get this conversation about leadership starting. Okay, so you all know that our session is about students from visionaries to leadership and how to build leadership incubators. And I have a few questions that I've prepared for the panelists, and I've changed all of them.
Hello.
Without letting them know.
Hello.
So I think that's very, very exciting. But before we get into that, I'm going to ask each and every one of you, Arya, if you can start, just to introduce yourself and give the audience a little bit of an idea of who you are and what work you are doing.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Arya Chitra from Nikon Middle East. As all of you know, we are a camera company, but then we have a beautiful education program called Nikon School. And recently, I think 10 years ago, we started a program called Nikon School for Youth and Kids. What we do in the region is we empower students with the technical knowledge as well as the creative skills in the schools. We collaborate with schools and universities, creating Nikon rooms for content creation. So our program teaches a child of what a camera is about on a very technical level, and we go as young as pre-nursery students as well, and as high as the university students. I believe what photography and filmmaking teaches a child is more about being aware. I saw a lot of talk on mental awareness, mental health, and that's why I believe photography and filmmaking, on a very subtle note, teaches that to the students. We have worked with Ministry of Education, UAE. We are working with Ministry of Culture and Youth. We have partnered with Dubai Arts and Culture Authority, and that's what I believe, that everybody is noticing the need of the hour for photography as being an exercise for not only being a passionate photographer, more on educating them about awareness.
The social emotional skills, right? So photography really opens up that space for social emotional learning. That's really, really exciting. Dr. Benjamin.
It's such a pleasure to be here. All I can say is I will have to introduce myself in a different way, because typically when I'm having speeches, I don't talk about accomplishments, what I have done, but I guess you can call me Benjo for short, because my name is Benjamin Joel. And the concept of leadership emanates from an experience of having a different story as I grew up as a child. Because actually I was once a victim of child trauma, that's first. And then growing up, as I developed my leadership or self-leadership, I have experiences like, how can I say it, financing my own education, like especially when I was in college, and also selling different kinds of stuff to my classmates, to the people around me. So there are a lot of, should I say, lived experiences that are quite deep. And the way that I am utilizing my voice, particularly when I am encouraging the heart of the people around me and to the people that I'm working with, it always emanates from those kinds of experiences. That's why actually the session a while ago is a great prerequisite to this presentation, because I also believe in vulnerability. But if you are working in a workplace, it's very important for you to be or to have selective vulnerability.
Yeah, I agree I totally agree with what you're saying there. And I think what you're also highlighting as a leader and in your leadership journey is that the experiences are what really counts. Not just what you learn or the knowledge, but you're really highlighting the experiential part. That's really awesome. Danny.
Hello. Hi, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here, and I thank Education 2.0 for hosting us. I think it's a fantastic event for the last 1.5 day. I'm the managing director of Freedom One International Executive Coaching and Business Consulting. I started my company about 7 years ago after working in corporate for the past 19 years. I'm also multiple best-selling author of 2 personal growth books. One of the things that happened 7 years ago, which is why I embarked on this journey of coaching and helping people transform their lives, is that I didn't find any fulfillment in a very successful corporate career. It was great. You had all the trappings of success that people measure you by, the society measures you. However, this thing about fulfillment and deeper meaning was a little bit missing. And in search of that, basically, I started this company, Freedom One International, where we help CEOs and business leaders double their results in business and life in 6 months or less. This is something we work very conscientiously with leaders, because once you can transform a leader, it impacts the entire organization. So you can create rapid, dramatic change in a short period of time when you speak to the right people, because they have the resources and the decision-making power to drive that change. So it's just been a fun, exciting journey. Thank you.
That's really cool. So I think we have 24 minutes to really get through some awesome, awesome questions. And I think, Danny, what I'm taking away from you there is that 7 years ago, there was something in your consciousness as a leader that shifted, which is really interesting. And I think that's becoming a really hot topic as well within the world of leadership. But just quickly, in 30 seconds each, why is leadership such a hot topic at the moment? Why is this happening? Arya, will we start with you?
I think we have created it to be a hot topic. I feel leadership is a skill. It's not a natural talent. It is something like you need to acquire it over the period of time. We have this pressure on that, are you a leader? Are you a born leader? But then that's not. That's what I think we have been working with students on that level to make it look like it's just a skill that you can acquire, like how you play football or how you play cricket for that matter, or any other skill that you want to acquire. And that's something I believe that we need to make it normal for the students to achieve it and not make it a hot topic. That's something I would like to really shout out to all the educators, that it's something that we need not pressurize the children to this hard, I think really strong words like leadership.
But that's interesting, because in education, everybody is creating better leaders. Schools are selling this as a commodity, and I'm curious about this. So I don't know, Dr. Benjamin, Benjo, what is your opinion on why is leadership becoming such a topic everywhere?
I think on the perspective of being a nurse, because we all know that nurses are one of the largest, if not the largest, member of the healthcare workforce. I mean, who will be the one to protect the rights of the nurses? Especially in this kind of situation wherein nurses are extremely challenged, particularly during the pandemic. A lot of nurses died just because of their intentionality to serve and doing the things that they love doing, which is taking care of other people. And aside from that, we are now in an era wherein the world is changing. And as you can see, and it's so nice to see also that I was able to connect with some people, and one of our advocacies in my organization, for example, is the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. So, as you can see, the role of nurses can make a significant impact on these goals. Can you imagine how education, for example, in the domain of education, who would have thought that someone like me will develop for example, the first nurse educator track program in a master's level in Saudi Arabia?
So you're actually saying that it's not leadership, it's the personal development?
I think it's necessary. I mean, in any field, in any industry, there needs to be a voice, and increasing the number of those voices collectively to advocate for change, right?
I like that. Danny?
Yeah, for me, I think I would agree that leadership is a skill you learn. It's not, you could be a born leader, yes, but it's a skill you learn. It's something you acquire, you cultivate within you. But when I look at leadership, I don't just look at leadership from a corporate perspective or becoming an entrepreneur. You need to be a leader of your own life. What's important is that you need, I would like to see myself as a conscious creator of my own life, because once you can create consciously the results that you want to see in your own life, you can automatically inspire, energize others to follow an empowering vision. So I think it all starts with you. You can cultivate that skill, but what's really important is that we are too quick to lead others and tell others what to do. Leadership starts with you. It always starts with you. And that's the energy, then that permeates and resonates with other people as well. That makes sense.
It makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
I would just like to add that when we talk about leadership, that's when we say the leadership triangle is goals, understanding others, and knowing yourself. That's what it is. You need to know yourself first, and that's how you can lead in any perspective, I believe. And that's what in my experience, photography teaches that to the child, that you have to figure out yourself first, and then you go out and capture anything that you want.
I have another question for Danny before we jump to you, Benjamin, again. In your experience or in your field of work, and even in this topic, there are two words. One is visionaries and one is leadership. So what is the difference between visionaries and leadership?
Well, visionary leadership or transformational leadership are quite interchangeable, actually. I think probably what you're asking is, how would you see a visionary leadership from maybe other leaders that you look at, just normal leadership? Because in society, the way we describe leadership these days is someone who spent 20 years in a particular job, now it's his right to become the head of the department or the head of the company. They haven't really developed any leadership skill. They don't have emotional intelligence. They don't have real decision-making abilities. They can't manage themselves. How are they going to manage thousands of people? So that you can define as leadership, because that's by virtue of how many years you've spent. Conscious leadership or visionary leadership or even transformational leadership is very different. It's about how you energize and inspire people towards a common goal, and then how do you find elegant ways to positively, I wouldn't say change, I would say up-level the people and the thought process within an organization. I'm really not a big promoter for change, because when you say the word change, there's a defense mechanism that comes in people immediately. If I say change your clothes, you say why, right? So I like to use the word up-leveling, is because you are where you are and that's okay. Let's see how you can up-level. How can you upgrade yourself? So I kind of stay away from the word change, because nobody really, your subconscious doesn't like the word change.
Yeah, I think yesterday it was so interesting talking to you, and you were talking about consciousness, and at some point I said, but what about the unconscious? And you just said, well, that's also a level of consciousness, and I really love what you're saying now as well. I have a question for you, Arya. From your perspective, what are the biggest opportunities to develop leadership in education right now? Because we're talking about education. So do you see there are gaps, white spaces?
I've been working with Middle East schools for more than 10 years now, and in my experience, I think they are filling that gap, because I see the Ministry of Education have a very strict guidelines on rating the school depending on what kind of skill sets or after-school programs the child is being exposed to. I think the school is doing the best they can. I really agree to that, because I know that every school management from all the levels that we work with, O-level, CBSE board, and I know that their prime motive is to make the students more exposed to the variety of activities or skills that because academics, they do agree that academics is important, but then also the skill set they can develop during that course. So they are bridging the gap, because that's the reason I am here. That's the reason Nikon Middle East is present in all the schools, because they acknowledge that this program is beneficial, and that's the reason I could reach to the levels that we are creating Nikon rooms in the campus now, creating for content creation. So I believe that the schools are doing that, especially in Middle East. India, we started working with now recently, and I know that the the new national curriculum framework that the Ministry of India has laid out is actually the step towards recognizing skill develop-based learning for the child.
So just jumping back to the question, you're saying that that white space in leadership development, but it's skills, bringing in more skills. Absolutely. And leading on, I want to jump to you, Benjamin, and ask if you think within the nursing profession and leadership development, if AI is one of the white spaces.
Actually, I have been involved into two projects involving AI, although it's not my expertise. Actually, I was able to do a project with Marco Neves from Portugal, and another one is with Anne Forbes, who works in Macquarie University in Australia. I'm not an expert on it, but it's very important for nurses like us to be able to adapt to what has been happening in this field. However, we need to draw a line between the development of this artificial intelligence that it will not replace. Of course, it will definitely not replace, because the human caring or the human touch of a human being, or the innate ability of the human being to radiate that energy that transcends to the internal being of another person, is a totally different experience that a nurse can provide.
I find this conversation so interesting, because when I grew up, any conversation about leadership was not about this. It wasn't about the inside-out leadership. It was about the outside leading forward kind of methodology. And I'm curious, Danny, within your work, if you deal with topics such as vulnerability and authenticity, and what does that actually mean in the world of conscious leadership?
That's a good question. So just to kind of backtrack a little bit on the schooling system, and most of my work is corporate, but sometimes I'm invited to organizations like educational organizations to talk or to manage conflict, etc. And I do agree that educational institutions have come a long way. In many parts of the world, education is shifting quite a bit. But three things they are missing right now, and those are fairly, I think, integral. Number one is self-esteem. The word self-esteem comes from the Latin word estimare, and estimare means estimate. So your self-esteem is an estimate of your self-worth. And that's something it's a very important thing we are missing in our educational system today, which is why, we were talking about suicides and depression and all of that, because people lack self-esteem. So if schools could bring self-esteem. The second thing I would say is that a big part of our education system, and even corporate, I would kind of answer this question both ways, they help us to be, they don't teach us to be successful, they teach us to be safe. So if you look at the top 10 billionaires of the world, most of them are school dropouts. That says a lot to you, right? And so technically, we are in an assembly line that you come into a classroom and you keep quiet, the bell rings, somebody's lecturing to you, they have said this lecture for the past 20 years, so there is no emotion, no enthusiasm there, and then you follow like an assembly line because you want to get safe in life. But you've never seen a statue created for someone who's lived a very safe life. So technically, I think bringing that level of entrepreneurship is important. And the last thing I would say is, this is a little bit philosophical, I would say that the entire universe is all about energy. Everything is energy. We are not taught about energy in our school life. And that's a pity, because all energy is underpinned with the emotion of love. So if you love a relationship, the relationship grows. If you love your business grows. If you love finance, your money grows. If you love your health, you become more well-being. So I believe that the education system is kind of missing this very integral element of consciousness, underpinning it with love, so that when they love what they do, they will just blossom. You don't need to teach leadership, they'll become leaders.
Now I'm really curious about that book that you wrote. And now I understand why you use the word revolutionize, because that's what we need to do. We need to revolutionize the whole process around leadership. So at lunch today, I had such an interesting discussion with a gentleman, and I wonder if you guys would agree with what he said. And he said to me, Nicolene, nobody is authentic. So when you're talking about authentic leadership, and I see you're getting a smile on your face, he says it's impossible. Every conversation that you move into, everything that you do, there's a part of you that's not authentic. And I'm curious as to what the three of you think about that.
Sure.
I kind of disagree with that. We all are authentic in our perception. I think at least we are true to ourselves. We don't, I'm sure we are putting out a show for the outer world, but then I'm a photographer. I'm a professional photographer. That's what I do for a living. And I know that as I've progressed in my photography journey, I'm just getting authentic, more self-assured. My self-esteem as a person is on a paramount for that, because that's what my photography has given me, that I have a voice, it's unique. My pictures are supposed to be out in the open. I believe as a photographer that it's something that if I don't capture that, you will not see it out in the digital world. We are living in a digital world. That's something I believe that they are hobbies or a passion that you need to pursue, that you develop that authentic behavior, or that you fine-tune that in your DNA for that matter. You need to have a purpose. Once you have a purpose, you're authentic. That's what I believe.
Awesome.
For me, I believe in authentic leadership, but for me, it's more of a journey, because growing from, as I told you a while ago, in that space of having experienced trauma, there's always that space that you are always feeling that you are not good enough, like growing up. But for me to be able to kind of reflect and really overcame all those challenges, including overcoming the challenge of myself, is actually one of the greatest achievements that I had. That's probably the reason when I am working with students, even in the bachelor's or graduate level, there are a lot of activities that we do even in the graduate level. Like for the students to really open up, you really have to structure activities that will open up the students to be more open and vulnerable. Like for example, who is your best of the best? And then asking key questions related to that. What is your inner core essence? But of course, it will be guided by important key questions in a small group for each of the students to really come out of their shell. And really listening to those stories, a part of that, of my journey of authenticity, is really getting to meet a lot of people who are, how can I say it, who are graciously showering me with gratitude from their experiences.
Is it safe to say that as you travel through a journey of leadership and a journey of life, that maybe from day to day, moment to moment, you're also traveling on a journey of authenticity, and that sometimes you might be 10% authentic and sometimes you self-awareness and you grow a little bit more and you get some more skills. So authenticity, so there's kind of like truth but also a disagreement within the gentleman's words, I think. And I'm curious what you think about that, Danny.
For authenticity, I think it's something very important that Arya said. You need to find your purpose. The reason why people they come across or it's perceived as unauthentic could be they're seeking validation from society, or they're just not clear about themselves. But when you really discover your purpose in life, and everyone has a life purpose, and like all of us do, and when we are clear about that, when we are clear about our own identity, which is beyond our passport, which is beyond our cultural heritage and all of those things, when you get clear on your identity, your authenticity starts to come through. The other important part about authenticity is you've got to let go of all the BS that we are carrying around, like emotional baggage. We talk about, resentment, guilt, regret, jealousy, envy, fear, doubt. Authenticity is not about achieving something. Authenticity is about letting go of things. So when you start letting go of all that, your authenticity starts shining through. You don't become authentic, it just shines through you. I think that's a very important distinction to make when you talk about authenticity.
Oh, I absolutely love that. It's about letting go and then growing in the process. So this morning at 3 o'clock, 3 a.m., I woke up. And I just hate it when this happens. And a question came to mind. And I had this question, and I was wondering, in all of your experiences and in your positions, you know, we have leadership now, and it's developing because there's a need. And then I was wondering, what are the root causes? Like, what are the systemic roots of why something like leadership is developing and coming to the forefront? Where does this stem from? I don't think the cavemen sat down and spoke about leadership and said, well, I think we need more authentic leaders. What are the roots that are stemming from this?
Well, so basically, even during the caveman time, they would look at someone to lead them. So that notion, that subconscious thing that tell me what to do has been there for millenniums.
But are you saying that leadership is still that tell me what to do?
No, I'm saying in certain paradigms that used to be like, even today in organizations, they look at leaders to tell them what to do. It's true, they do. In many, many organizations
Yes,
it is. The leader knows best and they wait till somebody says that's what happens in classrooms. That's how they're conditioned.
What about parents that tell their kids, everybody's a winner, everybody's a leader?
Absolutely. So,
I believe in that also.
Go ahead, sorry.
I believe in that because that's roving leadership. It's like when in a particular situation, a person can emerge to become a leader in that situation. And I want to build up with that because really I cannot, the energy of Danny is so strong. I mean, everything is resonating with me. So, and actually what I like about what Danny said a while ago is because he mentioned about conscious leadership a while ago. I do not know if I'm out of topic or what. It's actually becoming more intentional, should I say intentional, with what you do. And he also mentioned the importance of finding your purpose or your true voice. If you are in that space, even if you face a lot of people in front of you, you will never be, how can I say it? It's free. You feel free. Freer, should I say.
I like that. Arya?
I think the reason we are working towards creating better leaders in schools or colleges for that matter is because I think the focus now have come to the students that they are future leaders. We have to prepare them for the world. We have to prepare them for their corporate or personal world. And a word like leader, are you a leader, really affects children's perception on how do they take on their journey of being what they are. I think it's something that we have to work on because they are definitely the titles that we need to make it very normal for a child to acquire, because a question like, are you a leader, there are very few hands you will raise up in a class. That's something we are working to break that no, you are the leader of your life. You have to make sure that a child or a teenage understand that this is not a personality trait, more of a journey that you have to transit towards being a better leader. When you talk about leaders, leadership, there are a lot of qualities that come into play. The soft skills, the interpersonal skills of becoming a leader. It's about understanding others. It's about creative and innovative thinking out of the box. And that's something we need to normalize when we throw a word as leader towards the children.
I really like that. It's like breaking down those stereotypes. So in closing, looking at the clock, 30 seconds each, I want to ask you, what is your leadership wild card? What is that leadership strength that you have that's like your go-to wild card as a leader?
In my case, I will answer it from my experience. It's actually problem solving, command, developer, ideation, and strategic thinking. So if you will ask me about my strengths as a leader, I think that these are the 5 strengths that I have. But I also want to add, in terms of our topic, which is really developing visionaries, especially in educational institutions. Although I'm working in a corporate world, it really depends on the leader, on how are you going to foster a different environment for your colleagues. We are working in an environment that is in a caring framework. All the people at work, they have decision-making ability. We sit down in one room, and all the team leaders have the ability to raise their voice and give their opinion. And it's an environment where culture also is being celebrated. Although, honestly speaking, I'm working in Saudi Arabia. I'm working in a multicultural environment. And even my colleagues really like having, like a day for Indians or for Egyptians, for example, or for Sudanese colleagues.
So the cultural awareness.
That's fun. Yes.
I think
It
another
depends
part
on the leader.
of leadership is being aware of time. So I'm gonna just, and valuing time and other people's time and also our own expertise. And I'm gonna go Danny and then Arya, if you would close with your wild card. Thank you for that, Benjamin.
Sorry, the wild card.
Yes.
Okay. So I was just thinking while you were speaking, so you gave me some good time to think about it. Yeah, I think in terms of wild card, I would say, I'm not sure if I have a wild card, but what I would say is, I think when you make a conscious effort to raise and elevate your consciousness, I know I use this word quite a lot because it's so true, you tend to understand people better, you're less judgmental, you make better decisions and better choices in life, and you just start connecting with people at a more heart and a more deeper level. So I'm not sure if that's my wild card, but I feel that when you make this kind of conscious effort to, self-realize, life becomes a bit more easier. That's what we teach. In life, you can actually have it all. It's what we teach, the concept of having it all, having the best relationship, finances, a good job, health and well-being, and having a connection that really kind of, you have one life, and this is not a dress rehearsal.
Yeah, I think that's a good wild card to have. And then in closing, Arya, for you.
So my wild card for my leadership, I believe that is, first is to I found my purpose, and I drive that purpose with passion, compassion. And the last thing that I know that this world doesn't owe me anything. The world doesn't revolve around me. I have come here with a purpose. I need to fulfill that. I need to keep working to the right cause, and be positive all the time. And that's what I believe is my wild card for anything that I have achieved in life.
I think this is already a beautiful leadership course if we had to put all of these wild cards together from self-awareness, purpose, problem solving, and having consciousness. So thank you so much for sharing this panel with us today, and a shout out to all the leaders that showed up and that are still here today. Thank you, Rachel.
Thank you, panelists. Fantastic. Well, I hate running anyone off the stage here, and you guys have been really engaging, so thank you, panelists, for a great discussion. I'm opening it up for a question, so come on up, first hand up, come on up to the mic, introduce yourself, get involved. I know that sometimes when we run out of time, people may feel like they're feeling rushed, but I want to give you the opportunity to get up to the mic, and I invite you to ask your question.
Hi, I'm Shalini, and so I've really enjoyed this amazing panel with the topic which actually resonates with everybody. However, it just leaves you with one very strange question, that if there's so much done towards leadership at a grassroots level, which is academia, and then going forward, why don't we have good leaders leading us in the world today? So where is that coming from? Because I mean, and I'm not politicizing this conversation at all, but wherever you look in the world today, people leading it are actually really not standing up to any of the virtues that we've discussed in this room. Neither are they self-aware, they don't have empathy, and they're largely just sort of polarizing the world with their own ideologies. So this is just more from a comment perspective from you, that where we are building up leadership skills and where we are really reflecting as symbolic references to who the world leaders are. Is there any connection there?
Yeah, I'm wondering, Benjamin, it deals a lot with the work that you're also doing Danny, in consciousness. I think what I'm hearing from you, you're asking, why are we having leaders that may not have these skills? Are there any of you that would like to answer that?
I think if you are mixing political leaders with the
Because
leaders,
from a
then it's a separate debate altogether. But then I believe they are right leaders who are still reading the right causes. And I see that. I still believe the world is still a better place. We still have amazing leaders out there doing their purpose at the best that they can. And I think, yeah, we do, because see, there's always going to be a good and a bad element in the society. We just have to find the right balance. And what I see is, how do we look at it? I always see good leaders in the right places. I have one of the best leaders, I would say, in my company, and MD Narendra San is one of the best, I would say, such a charismatic leader that we have come and achieved what we have done under his leadership. So I think it's more about perception. What do you look at it?
I think you could be my marketing head to increase my business. I think it's a very, very good question, very good question. One of the reasons why you don't see that is because people haven't made it a priority, unfortunately. However, 2020 to 2030 is the decade of awakening, and you're seeing that. 5 years ago in these conferences, people would not talk about purpose and passion and consciousness. We are doing it now because there's an awakening happening. And I do see pockets in leadership, whether it's corporate, entrepreneurship, or even some pockets in governments where people are trying to embody. But there is the other population, which is so big, which has never made it a priority. So that paradigm shift, that transformation is taking a bit longer. But if you ever come across this, please send them my way.
I just want to add to that. Your question is talking about grassroots. So I think
I was actually looking at world leaders, actually, in terms of politicians who are really making a difference, because that's the end level of where leadership is going. And I was actually questioning that.
But if you backtrack from that, right, a lot is being done at grassroots now.
And I feel like you very rightly said, 10 years from now, that's the time when you'll actually see what the good has done for a larger good.
During this decade.
Yes.
2023 is a very important year, I think. 2023, 2025, you will see a quantum leap in leadership change, also in technological advancement, because technological advancement is actually pushing better leadership. We keep talking about why AI is bad, but when AI comes in, it'll actually push you to become better leaders. That's an aspect we are not looking at. I think it will. So yeah, the majority, there's still that big effect that needs to come, which is why you're not seeing it. In certain areas that has changed, it is moving in the right direction, but change, I don't like the word change, but kind of transformation or up-leveling takes a little bit more time. But you got to make it a priority. That's really important. Anything in life you make a priority changes. It gets better. But sometimes organizations don't make it a priority.
Benjamin, will you wrap up this conversation for us?
Actually,
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for the question.
It will be related to her statement. I think I actually believe also with what Danny said a while ago. Like, in general, we cannot change the entire world. But at least we can make a difference in our space, in our fields, in the areas where we can spread that impact. I'm an advocate. Now I have a project advocating for nurse advocates. 2 of them is actually one of them. They are with me. an advocate for healthy workplace environments, and an advocate for victims of substance abuse. So I feel like in my own space, I can make a significant difference. That's it.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Great.
you.
Give him a round of applause. Great panel. Fantastic. Hopefully we get the solution of how to really support these leaders, because when you see some of these political leaders, you wonder, did they ever get any training? In some cases, right? Please take a step at the front of the stage. They're going to get a shot of all of you guys together. Okay, let me ask, is there anyone in the room upset that they didn't get enough time on the microphone? Raise your hand. I want to address that elephant in the room, because I do not want anyone leaving my event, my room, being a little unhappy about the opportunity that we present in front of you at this event. We should be networking. Did anyone connect with anyone of the panelists on LinkedIn? Raise your hand. Great job. Excellent. I got 5 hands in the room. What happened to the rest of you? Thank you, guys. Thank you. Well done. Thank you for moderating. Great job. So, the next panel discussion is a word I love. Collaboration. Who's here to collaborate? How many times have you tried a collaboration that hasn't worked? Maybe it just was started on the right motive, right? But it just kind of fizzled, right? So the key to the collaboration is all about creating a win-win for both parties so that you could work and you both have equally invested energy to really make that collaboration work. But what about KPIs of what we want to measure to make sure it's working? Are we doing that? And we're going to find out from the next panel about collaboration within the learning journey, because there's a whole bunch, and this room is the beginning of it. If there's one thing that you can set your intention, it's to find someone in this room to collaborate with globally. This will expand your brand. This will expand your network. I can't tell you enough. An event like this has huge opportunity for leveraging everyone in this room through the digital presence of #education, 2conf. You're using it. Joel's my king. He's the first one to go. You know, he did a great job. And every time there's a panel discussion or an opportunity for a coffee, you have another opportunity to shine, connect, and share. Right? That's how you're going to make it happen. Now we're going to listen to some more experts talk about what's happening in academia when it comes to collaboration. So invite up to the stage with me our moderator, Sawan Kapoor, founder and CEO, Dire to Hire Solutions, LLP. Come on up to the stage. Take it away. I'll see you soon.
Isn't she doing a great job?
Thank
A round
you.
of applause for her.
Thank you, thank you. I appreciate it.
All right, we have an interesting panel for you, and I'll, without wasting any time, get right into it. We are today talking about energizing industry, academia collaborations, learning for a better learning journey ahead. And I'd just like to introduce the panel and ask them to come join us here on stage. Our first panel member is Dr. Jihan Zarhan. She's a PhD, a university professor with 23 years of experience and has worked in Egypt and the Middle East. She has a Master's of Science degree in marketing and a PhD in educational management from the University of Western California. In addition, she holds an international fellowship in education from NYU. Dr. Zarhan's background with renowned institutions has equipped her with a strong foundation in her field, and she has worked with ministries, educational development for international curricula, and she has led stakeholder relations for higher education institutions. Furthermore, she is an esteemed founder of an educational consulting company, further showcasing her commitment to educational advancement. Please join us on stage, Dr. Zarhan. We are also joined by Mr. Peter Phillips. I think Peter's come in from Bali, where my head is when I was outside. Peter has well over a decade of experience across various forms of traditional, independent, and progressive education systems and approaches to education. He has led numerous collectives of deep thinkers and highly creative people across design, strategic planning, conscious branding, and aesthetic communication production. Peter is well positioned to bring conscious change through his experience and insights into the future of education and conscious branding for business. His intention is to share the disruption that educators need to create for the education industry to stay relevant and become the definitive thought-leading standard for learning globally. He focuses on social innovation and social enterprise alongside cross-industry partnerships and communications that catalyze and scale. Welcome, Peter. Dr. Karina R. Jensen. Dr. Jensen is an international management consultant, change facilitator, and educator with 25 plus years of experience in launching and leading global innovation and education initiatives. She's the founder and executive director of Global Minds Network and founder and president of micollaboratory.org. She is also a professor of global innovation and leadership at Neoma Business School in France, with teaching and research interests in the global innovation, leadership, and multicultural collaboration space. She has authored several publications, including a book on leading global innovation. Welcome, Dr. Jensen. We also have Mr. Elvin Joseph, who is the Director of Business Development at the University of Strathclyde. With over 16 years of experience and having worked extensively in the corporate sector, prior to this, Elvin is a pioneer for crafting and fostering meaningful partnerships between the world of education and academics. His focus remains on developing relationships with key stakeholders, promoting collaborative research projects, and facilitating technology transfer initiatives that result in commercial applications for the benefit of the student body. His passion for driving economic growth and bridging the gap between theory and practice has earned him a recognition with the business community and in academic circles as a demanding professional who is focused on providing every opportunity to the enrolled cohorts at Strathclyde. Welcome, Elvin. And we also have Mr. Ramadas. I'm not sure if he's unable to make it, I suppose. Oh, I think he's there. Wonderful. Excellent. Please join us. And I would ask you, I have not received your credentials yet, and I'm sure there are many. I would ask you to please take a minute and introduce yourself, Mr. Tamil Selvan. There's a mic right there, if you.
I have the honor of self-introducing myself. My name is Tamil Ramdas. I come from the industry side. Currently, I'm the Chief Financial Officer for a multinational company here in UAE. Why I'm sitting in this forum in education is basically I propel and support the idea of TMH, which we call them as the triple helix model, wherein we connect the industry, academia, and the government. And I spent almost 13 years of my experience in government of Dubai, in the Dubai Maritime City Authority, where we really implemented the concept of integrating the maritime education segment with the industry, with the support of government. Thanks a lot.
Welcome. So before we get started, just a quick question. What would be the value to your institutions or enterprises or places of business if you could get somebody from the school or college system and the training that you needed to provide them is minimal? They hit the ground running. What would be the value of that? How many of you would value that as a 10 out of 10? Raise your hand. Right? There's very strong value to that, because a lot of times people coming out of the system of education, they know the theory, but applying it's a whole other ballgame, isn't it? Excellent. All right. So with that, let's get started with this panel discussion. Yes. All right, welcome panel. My first question, let's dive right into it, is what do you think is the biggest limitation when it comes to collaboration between industry and academia meeting? We'll start with Dr. Jensen.
Biggest limitation, I believe, is really to see each other as see it as a mutually beneficial relationship. What I find working at academia at times is kind of us against them, or not recognizing the benefit of collaborating together. So what is important is just really to join together and look at what each side brings. And how industry can view academia as a source of learning, not only from professors, but from students, a source of new ideas in terms of collaboration. And academia, on the other hand, to see how important it is to work with industry, especially now, in order to look at how to accelerate learning.
Dr. Zaran, we'd love to hear your views.
Yeah, I'd like to ask a question actually to my, colleagues and attendees here. What the orange color means to you? What the orange color means to you?
Well, I like it.
You know? What means to you?
Orange for me, does it carry a meaning? I think it's vibrant for me.
Okay.
I think of vibrancy, I think of life when I think of orange.
Vibrant.
Yes.
Anybody has other word of the meaning of orange or the significance of orange color? Energy. Yeah. And anybody else has another word for orange color? Actually, it's a significant one. It's well known scientifically when you do the orange color. So it comes to creative. Thank you. Who said that? I will owe you something outside. So as all of it, what you said is right, but orange coming from the creativity. And that comes from orange economy. And I think most of us heard about orange economy. Did you hear about orange economy? Who heard about orange economy? Orange economy. Okay. Orange economy, it's the production model, okay, where goods and services comes together to a creative product, all right? So, and that's why all the words now talking about or working on orange economy. In another word, we call it creative economy. And that's why they call it orange. From that part, I really want to say that's the limitation that we need to do. Okay, so 3% from UNESCO said 3% of domestic, gross of products. This is 3% of the whole world products. And 30 million jobs all over the world just working for orange economy. That's what's going to be. Next time we can have in details about, could give time to my people.
Yes.
Yeah, you're welcome.
So Peter, what do you think is the biggest limitation when it comes to energizing the collaborations between industry and academia?
Well, firstly, hello. Assalamu alaikum. And where I'm from, we say Om Swastiastu. This is my first time on this land in Dubai, and I'm extremely grateful to be here, and I am very curious. I'm very interested in this land. I'm very interested in each and every one of you being here. I don't know your stories. I don't know what industry you represent or what form of education you represent, but I'm deeply curious. So for me, to answer that question, it would be to have a deep curiosity across the board and to not confine ourselves to one industry, to one stream of education, and to have an all-inclusive approach to life, which is based upon human-centered relationships.
Thank you. Elvin.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure to be here amongst global thinkers and educators. For me, I've been in this industry for almost 16 years, and so one of the things that I was able to learn with engaging with different industries is they see academia as people or the university sitting in an ivory tower just delivering content, what they feel is the right thing. But whereas they don't engage with the industry and see what are the demands, what are the requirements in the market that is to be developed in the curriculum to be delivered. So there is a huge gap in terms of what the industry requires and what the universities or academic houses deliver. So when you talk to different industries, so there is demand. For example, when we were doing research with some of the basic industries, they said we have a huge gap in terms of finding engineers. But is there a supply of engineers? Yes, there's a huge number of engineers in the market. But the transferable skills that they have when they get employed is missing. So there's this onus on these industries where they employ people and they spend millions of dollars training them, upscaling them to be employable by these industries. So one of the things that universities or academic houses need to do is to talk to the industries and try and understand what those challenges are and incorporate it into their academic material.
Well, that's a very interesting perspective. Just as a little follow-up, I think that's a joint responsibility between academicians and absolutely. Great, thank you. Mr. Ramadas.
Hi, good evening again. I think I'm just going to continue from whatever my fellow colleague has said on this topic is that there is a gap between the industry and academia from both the sides. When our friend was talking about the academia has to approach to the industry, it is also equally important the industry approaches to the academia, because the pain point is in the academy. No, the pain point is more with the industry. They're going to get unskilled employees, they're not updated to the real-time work talent, and that is going to be a big burden, and the training budget is going to be a huge burden for the organization because there's a big gap between the academia and the industry requirements. So it is a gap which cannot be filled only from one side. It is more important the industry approaches not just for recruiting the employees as a students from the universities, instead go well in advance to the academia side, talk to them. This is what happening in my area of industry where there has been a big gap in your academic textbooks, in your curricula, so improve it, work with them. So there is a joint curriculum that is being developed every year, getting updated so that both of them get benefited. I just want to give one simple example belonging to my industry. I come from the finance and accounting industry. Let's talk about a topic called budgeting, which is common to any one of us. We all do budgeting for 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, 2 years, rolling budgets. But you know, the budgets as a topic being taught in academia, even the best of the universities in US is not coping up to the real-time budgetary system that is happening in the industry. We talk something called encumbrance accounting, where we try to control the budgeting right from creating the purchase order to the invoicing to recording the accounting records into the books. But that has never been incorporated even in the best of the textbooks of budgeting topic in any of the universities across the globe. So this is a clear example that there's a big gap between academia and industry, almost a decade. So industries are far ahead than academia. Gone are the days of 5 to 6 decades before, when you graduate from a university, you are well equipped to work in an industry. No, it's a vice versa, where industries have gone far ahead, where academia is trying to catch up. So this gap has to be solved mutually, and that will benefit mutually as well.
Yeah, I was on a panel this morning, and just building on that, we were talking about how the formal system of education gives you the subject matter expertise, that gives you the domain knowledge, but how to monetize that knowledge, that's the practical experience that they learn actually on the job. And I think that's what all of us here have referred to in saying that industry needs to step back in to be able to bring focus to that, so that the products that are coming out, the students that are coming out are so much more ready, productivity can be enhanced, grooming other leaders can be enhanced, and we can find better ways in shorter time to be able to deal with the challenges of the changing world of today. Great. All right, let me move on to my next question here. So, what do educators and industry leaders need to put in place in today's fast-paced world to ensure that there is meaningful growth in how they come together? Now that's the first part. So what do they need to put in place in terms of frameworks to make sure that they are coming together? And how would you energize such collaborations and can suggest some actions that academicians and industry leaders can put into play immediately? So the first part of the question is a macro perspective, and then it drills down to more of a micro perspective. We can go in that order, or if somebody has a scintillating thought, they can start right away.
If I could start there from a very, very ground level. So I want to move you through very quickly the last 4 years of the developments in a small island called Bali. So when the pandemic came, we started up a progressive learning center. This learning center has 3-year-olds to 14 and 15-year-olds. The evolution of that has meant that we have now been able to, through this freedom we have in this form of education, is to have partnerships with universities. So universities have said, this model of education is a very interesting model. Why? Because it deals with life as it is. Workplace readiness skills, soft skills, all of this terminology that we have been discussing over the last day and a half. And what is now interesting is we are seeing industry coming towards us. So hospitality is coming towards us and saying, we want to have our hospitality staff trained. Universities are coming and saying, we want to have an 18-week intense internship and we will give credits to students where they do not have to step foot in the university. And we give them a full portfolio and a full report that details all of these 21st century skills, which increases their potential outcomes in terms of employability. So this is something that I can bring as a point in the discussion of how educators or education at a very grassroots level can support industry and academia.
That's a very good micro example. Excellent. Thank you for sharing. It's something that you've been passionately involved with for a few years now on the ground, right? And what are some of the kind of outcomes that you've noticed coming out of that program?
Incredible growth and change in a short amount of time. And if I can bring it to this point, that the youth are they do not yet have the constraints of a typical workplace environment. So they are, in a sense, a little bit unhindered by the noise of the world. And so to be able to get them in early, we see almost an awakening, if you like. There's this talk about consciousness. It's an awakening of what the concept of time actually is, of what communication means, of what vulnerability is. So to have these students come through who are really human beings and adults who will go out into the workforce, this is 60% of the population in Indonesia, is incredible in terms of a wide space of opportunity for industry and academia to collaborate, because it means it can catalyze and scale. And it means that our workforces will be supported from the ground up.
Thank you. Wonderful work. Mr. Ramadas.
I want to just add to my friend here, there are a lot of things can be done from the educators. The first and foremost thing is, there are 3 phases of entrepreneurial university. But most of the universities have not gone through these 3 phases yet now. They're just stuck in the first and the second phase. The first phase is teaching and training. So most of the educators in schools and universities, they focus only on teaching and training, right? The next stage is getting up to a research and development stage. So across the globe, you can see hand-picked universities which are very much focused on growing up to the research and development stage. But having reached to the research and development stage, the educators and the education systems and the ecosystems get standstill there. They do not go to the next stage. But the entrepreneurial university has to go to the next stage where they work very, very proactively so that they can effectively and efficiently support and create an innovative society or innovative ecosystem of education where they can go and work with the industry. They can work and get the support from the government, which we call them as a triple helix model, so that their education and training, the research and development is getting into the innovation chain. The final level is converting or creating or changing the science into wealth. That is the level of education that has to be growing up from the educators level. So they have to get into an economic development model where the research and development doesn't just stay in the labs, doesn't stay in the textbooks, doesn't stay in the knowledge scholarly articles and ADCB publications. Rather, these publications get into real-time usage, real-time applications, so that the real purpose of educators gets into a completion stage, and that's the mature model of entrepreneurial university. To give examples, I belong to this area for almost 23 years. I've been spending in Sharjah and Dubai. I worked also for Dubai government for 13 years, where I could see in 2010, when you take the newspapers and records, you see almost 22.5% of the federal budget was allocated on education segment. So there is no need to undermine on the topic that this country, this region is spending much on education. But are they talking together? Yes, they were talking together. Classic examples. Let's talk Emirates-wise. Abu Dhabi started way back in a world-class institution called Masdar. They are a very good model of triple helix model where they find sustainable research models that gets implemented into sustainable construction. You talk about sustainable real estate that is well supported by Masdar. You talk about Dubai, you can just go to Sheikh Zayed Road, the Future Museum, correct? That's a place, that's a hub for innovation that has been taken very, very seriously, and a lot of innovation models are coming out from this in collaboration with academy and also with the government and also from industrial side. If you go to Sharjah in the Northern Emirates, they have created world-class institutions like American University of Sharjah. In cooperation to that, they made also American University of Sharjah Enterprise. Something like what you're talking is that they do not just talk about research and development and education within AUS, but they also create an enterprise connected to AUS, being a sector that can implement what comes as a research outcome from AUS. Also, they have something called as SR-TIP, that is Sharjah Research, Technology and Innovation Park, which is an exact replica of Masdar in a way where they take the industry, the industry adopts the idea from the academia and put them into economic growth. So this is where the educators have to grow up. They cannot be in a very myopic thought that I'll be just giving teaching and training and to an extent research and development. No, that research and development should translate into real-time economic development.
Well, you know, it's very encouraging to hear this because I think, in a classroom, the lesson is delivered first and the test comes afterwards. But in life, you know, the test comes first and the lesson is delivered afterwards. So it's good to see that there's such practical application happening because, you know, there's no replacement for that fear and that vulnerability that you feel when you have to do it yourself. It's easy to understand and appreciate intellectually, but when you're actually on the mountain above 26,000 feet, you know, that first-hand experience is mind-changing. I mean, it's life-changing. Great.
I just wanted to add to that because the triple helix model is something that we as a university sort of incorporate into bridging between industry, academia, and government, where it's like a three-way bridge where everybody communicates or travels within each other. So we're looking at industries where there is a revolution that's taking place. So if academia doesn't follow that, then you're missing out on a huge element. Universities or academic houses are a huge repository of information where if it's not transferable to industries, then there is again a huge gap. So one of the things that we do as a university at Strathclyde, it's one of the oldest universities. We have one of the largest technology innovation center in the UK, in Glasgow, and it's the largest in the UK. So one of the things that we do is we work very closely with industry. So we have close to 900 industry partners. Just to take an example, as we work very closely with Rolls-Royce, where some of those engine parts are actually manufactured on our campus. So imagine taking an engineering student into these facilities and giving them the hands-on experiences in terms of understanding how these operations work. So the moment they graduate from the university, they're easily employable by these workplaces. So these are some of the transferable skills that the academic institutions have to work closely with the industry. So the moment you graduate, you have a job in hand because you know what the industry standards are. So the triple helix model is something that really works. And it's a sad reality of things that most universities don't kind of do that. And I think if you don't, you sort of miss out on the game.
You know, your response reminds me of an educational model and concept we used to have back in ancient India called the Gurukul. And the word guru is for teacher, and Gurukul is the school of the guru, where the student used to spend time with the teacher, and it wasn't as much about subjects such as math and chemistry and accounts. It was more about the teacher telling the student where to look, but not telling them what to see. They would point them in the right direction, and that, I think it had a link with the panel earlier as well, where they were talking about leadership. And I think part of that is also where you help others become a leader. So, I think one of the panelists there as well was talking about how, they ask leaders what to do. That's because the way you gain experience is, it comes from bad decisions. The ability to make good judgments comes from experience, but experience itself comes from bad decisions, right? That's how we learn. So sometimes you have to put your own hand into the fire to learn that fire's hot.
Okay, thank you for the word saying people would like to do. So I'm going to start from this point. I think we came here to know solutions, to know something that we can learn about it, a case, or it's maybe something that happened on the ground and we need to follow, or we need to upgrade or develop. So do you like to know about orange economy? Still? Okay. So let me complete the orange economy, what it's the trades about. It trades about related to art, communication, food, coding, and internship. Internship, actually, this is in particularly, it's focusing on producing or creating something coming to the sustainable and eco-friendly. Okay, so this is actually what the orange economy or creative economy needs to be in all over the world for that. And that's what we need at the end, the limitation, that's your first question. So we need to come to this. So how can we start our early years and higher education and all the fields to come to that part, to sustainable and eco-friendly products, innovative products, creative products. And we are in UAE, especially in Dubai, and I'm based actually here, and I know what's going on and how's the education, how really they are investing in innovation, and they really get a very good rank in orange economy lately in 2022. So from that part, and maybe the technical support, they have sharing link if they still have it. Technical support in the back. Hello? Yeah, they know that they should share a link now. I don't know that they can share it or not. Hello, hello. Yeah?
Now I have to wake up.
Do you have the link to share it?
You got a link?
Yeah. Shobit actually should share a link with you.
I think they had put it on earlier when you were talking earlier as well.
All right, so this link is a real case of a higher education university. It's called Stakeholder Relation Center, okay? This Stakeholder Relation Center is not only for higher education. It can be for any organization, because this is the link. Yes.
All right, there you go.
Let me stand up, because I like staying up, actually. So we can go through it, actually, slowly. So this is a sample that any organization can make. Stakeholder relation is responsible for collaboration between any organization and outside, any partner. So it has your belief, vision, and mission, and what to believe in. And then you come to our goals, to the goals of the center itself, the collaboration. I can share with you the link, by the way, and the LinkedIn later on, just to have through, and maybe you can have an idea about it. So how it works, this is also on the website. So identify, map internal and access to nature, demonstrating, recommend, and mentor manage the stakeholders relation. Any stakeholder. In the higher education, you have the parents, you have the students, you have the admin, you have the staff, you have everybody. He should be involved in that and give idea about this. But what is the main thing in that, in the stakeholder, that he is the center to think who is your real partner. Here is some of the achievement actually. For example, American Heart Association for Medicine School, okay? So it will hire the rank and at the same time will give more experience to community. Immerse, for example, for courses in English to all departments. Here is one of the things which is really getting into the market with the accountant students. For Medtronic, for example, this is one of the company which is, I really think that it will make research skills to our engineering students. So this is the meaning actually, which is I meant by that, by collaboration. You are linking the academia with the market, with exactly what they need to practice. I worked in both. I know exactly what the professor in that really, I'm not offensive actually, but I'm working in both. So when I was, like dealing with professors, they are really committed for what the curricula that they have it, but in the same time, they really don't give a big issue to more communication with the business people, with the market. And the same side, the business people who really doesn't think about the academia. So collaboration between both of them will make innovative later on. Will make your student or your employee or whoever is someone who's really, when he graduates, he will know exactly what the market is. He will know the field beforehand. You will cut a chart for him, not wasting time, because otherwise they will grad and they will know at the end, this is, oh, I have to get course in all of this field. I have to get course in that field to know. I have to know myself. So why from the beginning you collaborate and make things together? So my advice actually, or my recommendation to you for any organization, K-12, higher education specifically, and organizations to have a stakeholder relation center, to communicate, to part. That will be its own purpose and job to do. Focus on the benefit, on the belief of something that really will this and that will collaborate together to get innovative things for our world. Thank you.
Well, that's a great example. I think, your response makes me think about how you've brought focus and resources at the higher education level for this to be a priority. Excellent, excellent. Dr. Jensen.
I'm going to take just a quick story, 1 minute, and it really builds upon what has already been said about having stakeholders and about it being a co-creation process. And I think this is critical, that from the various, before the course, that you co-create that with business leaders, companies, and then students. And so what I've been doing in my courses, and this is master's level, young students as well as even at executive level. The courses are more international in nature, so let's say they're leading global initiatives or global leadership. Students tend to come from many different countries, so can optimize their cultural backgrounds or diverse industry backgrounds as well. So the idea is that the companies pitch their projects. They say this is an international project or challenge where we would like your feedback. We need some help internally, we're trying to make this successful across the organization. So they'll pitch to the students, participants, and they'll select their projects. And then we'll develop teams, make sure they're diverse teams and with diverse skills, diverse cultural backgrounds, and they will work on these challenges. And then my course becomes one of, each session is devoted to taking them through that process. So each session will be about, well then, what is important in terms of research or understanding, assessment of the organization and the cultural dimensions. And then the next one will be strategic, in terms of how do you develop that strategic co-creation process, and so on, until they get to execution now, and how do we collaborate with remote teams? Because often they are also hybrid. They're in the classroom, some of them are calling in. And so it becomes a learning process within the classroom, but also many times the company leaders are invited to come in as mentors. So they'll come in and give a talk to give them some insights on the challenge and to give them some advice. And then finally, the class culminates in a pitch. So each of those teams will present to a company leader, a company advisor, and then get feedback on how they did, or how the value that was brought to the company. So it's nice in that sense because it's within a context which I very much feel is relevant in terms of being international, multicultural, digitally connected, hybrid environment, but they're learning about the actual process that they can apply in industry.
Excellent. All right. But if we flip the coin, if we now ask, what should a student think about? So what are some aspects that students must think about to take the initiative needed for differentiating themselves and gaining that real-world experience that will allow them to create a more fulfilling career and future? If we look at it, see, so far we've been answering questions from the perspective of educators and industry. What guidance would you give to students?
I think I can take this question.
I'll ask you for quick responses on this one because
Sure. So I think if you look at the International Bureau of Education under the United Nations, it talks about the global citizen. That is what the requirement of the future. It talks about various pillars that needs to be inculcated so that the current students become the future leaders. The first and foremost thing that a student should look at to become the future leader is, it's not learning for exams, it's not learning only in universities, it's a lifetime learning, it's a lifelong learning. So one should inculcate in themselves right from the studentship that they have to learn for life. Second, they have to be very interactive with the textbooks, interactive with the colleagues, interactive with the fellow human beings, interactive with the world. That interaction and the communication skills are very, very important. They have to be also inculcated with the knowledge of how to interact with humanoids. This may sound a little cranky, but the future generation that is sitting in the schools now would not be working only with the humans like you. They will be interacting with humanoids, which is a composition of both artificially infused robotic systems where you will have employees along with them. We have humans like you and me with blood and flesh, but also we have artificial intelligence infused humanoids sitting and working with you. So you need to know how to interact with such machines. Second most important thing is to be multiliterate. When you talk about multiliterate, you talk about financial literacy, you talk about numerical literacy. There's no ending list for that. And the most important is transdisciplinary. You talk about schools selecting only on science stream or STEM on engineering, but there has to be a great integration between philosophy with engineering. For example, genome and genetic engineering should have a philosophical infusion into that, so that tomorrow changing anything in the genetic system, it sounds ethical. So people just doesn't learn only technology on one side, become technocrats. No, they have to be ethno-technocrats, means they should be infused with a lot of ethical system of learning that can be integration between teaching STEM along with social studies and social sciences with ethics, with languages, with some psychology into it. So this transdisciplinary study is very, very important to become a future leader as a current student.
Very well said. All right, we can turn it back to our...
In closing, if I could just say quickly, in terms of what I've heard at the conference so far, there's two things I'd like to say. One is there has been a lack of focus towards nature systems and the intelligence of nature systems. And if we emulate nature systems, and if we think about indigenous cultures, then innately we have earth care, we have fair share, and we have people care. The consequence of that means we have future care. And I think that is my comment in closing with this panel here. From the ground up and the sky down, this is the future, being able to create different forms of education, stakeholder relationships, and being able to catalyze and scale this for industry to increase the well-being of people, productivity at the same time.
Great.
Now's your opportunity to ask a question. I'm not getting rid of you yet. Don't you worry. Stay right where you are. Who wants to engage? Come on up to the microphone. All right, don't all run at the same time. Really? Really? Oh, go girl. Go girl. Thank you. Great panel.
Mean session done, you know, when you have no questions, so everything is clear, you know.
Yeah, you guys hit a lot of points.
So I have more of a curiosity point, and my curiosity is, how do you foresee the intersection of industry where the Sustainable Development Goals and the United Nations Inner Development Goals come together to prepare these future leaders for the world of work? Thank you.
I like your question, by the way. I'm sorry if you allow me to answer. But as I said, you know, like the SDGs or the Sustainable Development Goals, it's something that really globally have done just for us to follow, right? So, and all the curriculum and international curriculum is really on the same track. You have number 4, which is education, okay? Yeah, it's 4. So education specifically is something that really you have to look at it and you have to integrate it for what you're supposed to do. So SDGs come from the sustainable, right? And when I tell you what we're doing in the future, all right, for sustainable goods and eco-friendly, so this is what we are going to. So you have to work in the innovation, creativity again. So, and how can you achieve that? You have to tolerate what exactly need to lead you at the end. So you have to think about how can I reach the highest level of the creativity of your students according to you have a guideline now. You have SDGs and you have the international curricula, and you have to think about who gonna collaborate with to come to your goal. I'll give you a sample, just a small sample of it. For example, you are responsible for university, and this university have School of Business, Hospitality and Management, for example. So what is the practical issue? So you have to communicate with an organization that it will collaborate with your students to train well in a very organized and very equipment place, and then you will get the goal now with the highest standard. You have to look in the partnership with the highest standard partner, not any partner. I hope I can answer you. Yes?
I'll just add a couple things to that. That was an excellent question. I think, looking at the social development goals set by the United Nations, if you look at the model of how, capitalist economies and free market economies and leadership in general has developed, for the longest time, if you look back on kingdoms and dynasties, who were the people who emerged as leaders? They were the ones who could promise security, stability, we will give you, the fundamentals of a happy life. And then as we started to realize more of human potential, everybody said, I want to make a difference by myself, so I'm going to put in the effort to improve my life. And that's where, over a couple hundred of years, we moved to a free market economy system which prioritized capitalism and profit. And to integrate the software development, the social development goals, I think we now need to start defining business from a perspective of beyond profit. And I think we're beginning to see that, but that was a beautiful question because I think we need to see more of it.
Great, next question.
Actually, for me, it's not a question, but more of a recommendation. Actually, in higher education, one of the most underrated pedagogy is service learning. Because you mentioned about the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, this is actually involving stakeholders and at the same time, leadership development of the students. So when you say service learning, and you frame your curriculum, let's say you integrate the Sustainable Development Goals across the curriculum, you thread it. So there are specific activities that will be formulated, like for example, serving children who are malnourished, for example, so zero hunger, like Sustainable Development Goal number 2. But at the same time, every after activities that the students are serving the vulnerable populations, whether it's children, whether it's about climate change. Basically, the 17 SDGs, there is a reflective component, because what sets service learning different from other pedagogies is actually its reflective component. So on that way also, you are opening this opportunity and path and trajectory towards a direct and indirect way of developing the leadership skills of the students, because it's about advocacy. It's about serving the population. It's about serving the people. It's about looking deep within themselves for them to be able to identify their passion, their purpose, or what particular vulnerable population they would like to serve in the future. This is actually the, how can I say it, the thread. But it has to be just clearly assessed and formulated.
Thank you for your recommendation. Really, I'm sorry. I really want to have to come up at the end of this conference to have really some would like a leadership committee. That people will really, maybe each quarter we can meet even online and we can share something that really can be good for the community. I really don't want this communication and this actually conference to come in vain and people just lecturing and go. We need to have come up with a collaboration, really good collaboration to each point that maybe we can change the world from this point. Thank you.
Nice.
Is that of any interest to anyone
Yeah,
here?
anyone volunteering?
Yes. Thank you, sir.
Amazing. Amazing. I love it. Hey, we could do something. We collaborate, girl.
Maybe it's a starting point for something that really will change the world one day. You
No
know, like
doubt.
who knows? You know, like this is an education, most ethically field in the whole world, core of every field. So we are the people who really can come up with an idea. Maybe it can tolerate anything.
Absolutely. Did you have something to say?
No, just to add in terms of social change too, I think change makers in the room, that we can continue to have these conversations, and I think it's very important that it's a fundamental question within courses on change. Something that I've been trying with the students now is, okay, you've learned the elements of change, of leading an initiative. Now, how would you be a change maker in terms of the IDGs or the SDGs, what would you choose? What would you change in the world? And then they have a chance to apply what they've learned and actually come up with a proposal, and they're free to pitch that too. So I think it's very important at any age, and we've been trying that with youth too, through my collaboratory in Nepal and Ghana, and just having like micro-learning, 2-week intensive sessions where they learn about this.
One of the main topic also, which is I really didn't see it here, and I really wish for see it next year, which is students of determination. Something related to them, something was really on the whole level of education. How can we help in all integration with the normal students in all of the fields, K-12 and higher education? Thank you.
Absolutely. Well, give him a round of applause. Thank you so much. I see you came up to the microphone. We're moving along, though, so you'll have to grab them during network hour. Come on up to the stage, panelists. We'd love a picture from the paparazzi as we move along here.
I will answer your question, by the way.
She's coming back for you. Remember him with the checkered shirt. Please come to the mic anyway while we're taking this picture. Come on up, throw out the question so she can come after you and make sure she answers it. But come over for the picture. Yeah, of course. Why not? You know, please. Fadal, what do you have to say?
So
please
this is not a question, it's a comment.
Comment.
By the way. Learned a lot. I think we all learned a lot. Yeah, so it looks like in the future, the golden rule, the golden plan is for industry and academia to unite, right? Not separate, as it is the present right now. And as we can see in history, you know, the concept of flight, right? The Wright brothers are credited with founding, you know, modern flight, right? Founding the airplane, designing, and, you know, making it so one day we're in the West, next day we can be in the East, all because of travel. However, if it wasn't for the works of the researcher, the mathematician Nikolai Grugowski, the Russian mathematician, if it wasn't for his work in complex potential theory and flow, and figuring out that flight is possible using complex potential, using the right shape, the right design. Using this was inspiration for the Wright brothers to make the airplane. So yeah, I'd just like to close this, and hopefully we can all learn to, integrate research and industry. Try to find that right union. So thank you guys.
Research and industry, thank you very much for wrapping up. Paparazzi in the middle, wave to the world. We're right here, Education 2.0. This keeps on going with good content. We got one more day for you tomorrow. But before the day is up, we have a little bit more treat for our agenda. Thank you so much, panelists. It's a pleasure to have you up on my stage. Thank you for all you're trying to do. Yeah, you want to say something? All right. I'll come after you. There's one thing that I really, thank you very much. Great moderation. Thank you so much. Fantastic. Thank you very much for being here. Awesome. One thing I strive myself, I want to make sure that if anyone needs to highlight who they are in this room, you let me know. I'm going to come to you with a microphone. I want to make sure that you get what you need from this event. You have traveled in from overseas, in most cases, other places, and it is my priority that you are getting the best value at this event. We are in the education sector. You are the most alert audience I've had. You can tell from the other events, there's no question everyone is very engaged, everyone is very invested. You are spending your valuable time here with me today, so please allow me to highlight your expertise should you need. All right, as we move along, listen, none of this is possible if you don't have students. So our next speaker is going to take us on a little journey. He is one of the exhibitor No Paper Forums, and he's going to talk to us about the student enrollment and recruitment. Because as I mentioned, no students, what are you going to do? So let's find out more from Navin Goyal, the founder and CEO of No Paper Forums. Come on, guide us through the topic of discovering the operating system for student recruitment and enrollment. Put your hands together. Navin's not coming. That was a joke. All right, never mind. We're going right to where I think we're going. We're going right to recognition. Bear with me. I thought Naveen was coming. I gotta get to the next. Dun, 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 dun. Okay, do you guys miss me? I'm back. All right, no, just a little. Try to bring it up. You guys mentioned laughing is medicine. A lot. A lot. Okay, very good. Well, I don't want you to miss me too much. Let me welcome to the stage someone who's sitting here patiently from one of the other rooms. He's still here, right? Yes, he is. Dr. Andrew Norris, Chairman of Anesthesiology from King Faisal Specialist Hospital, Riyadh. Give him a round of applause. He came over from health to help me out. Getting to the end of day 2. How are you? Good. The most important department in any hospital is the anesthesiologist. No doubt you need them to stay alive. Doctor, take a seat, why don't you? Would you like to introduce yourself to our audience? We'd love to know more about you. To the microphone.
Thank you very much. Flattered to be asked to present these awards here. I've just come from the meeting next door, from the health meeting. I kind of wear a few hats, I suppose. I'm currently as you've heard, the chairman of anesthesiology at King Faisal. I've been in that role for a few years. I also hold a research position at King Faisal, and I'm an adjunct associate professor at the Al Faisal University and also University of Nottingham in the UK. Most of my postgraduate career has really been in postgraduate medical education, so I guess that's kind of why we're here. I hold roles in training anesthesiologists and also other medical professionals, I guess. And the reason I'm kind of next door is because I also am involved in medical technology innovation, so that's the thing. But I'm kind of an educator at heart, I suppose.
Fantastic. Well, you're in the right room now. We might have to keep you here. I'm going to invite you to the middle of the stage because now is the time you and I are all waiting for. It's a recognition time. We got experts in the room. We are ready to recognize. I want to know exactly what every one of you is known to do in this world? Are you living your authentic truth? We're going to find out here on stage with your years of experience. So get ready as we wrap up, give some recognition before anyone goes home. Tuesday, second day of Education 2.0. Are you ready, Doctor? All right. No anesthesia needed now. We're ready to be excited and engaged. This is my little jokes. Here we go. I'm still going. Put your hands together for the head of Nikon Youth and Kids School, where she combines her expertise as a biomedical engineer with a passion for photography. Over the past 9 years, she's partnered with schools, reaching over 20 lakh students to provide workshops. Here she is again. Come on up, Arya Shitra. It's time to be recognized. She's all about this popular destination for young aspiring photographers. Thank you so much for being here. Congrats. Congrats. All right, yes.
So, shall we ask the recipients to
talk? Do you want to talk? Do you want to hear? If they're open to it, I'm welcome to inviting them up here. Anyone wants to talk? Please do. You know, I'm not holding you back. Doctor wants to hear. I want to give him what he needs. You're going to keep on getting an award for the next recognition over there, and you're going to come on over here to say something sweet. The next person we're welcoming to the stage for accolades is the founder of Social Entrepreneurship's School Education Sense program. So inspiring the next generation to drive social transformation with over 50,000 trained individuals and 60 incubated projects. Put your hands together for Dr. C's over 10,000 disadvantaged communities in Hong Kong. Congratulations. See, I told you, it's the end of day. People are getting tired, but we're welcome to jump on the mic at any time. Okay. I promised you the mic. You got the mic. Let's keep going, everybody. You have been so engaged. Great audience. Next up is an esteemed associate professor and academic advisor at Redefining Academy with a background of associate dean of student affairs and a postdoctoral fellow at the renowned Cleveland Clinic. Come on, put your hands together. Dina El-Sori, time to shine. But we heard from Dina's spectacular expertise, so thank you for that great moderation. Say hello to the world. I want to make sure, YouTuber, you guys are in the right location. You're getting everyone close so they can show their family and friends. Cameraman, give me a thumbs up if everyone's in the right place. All right. Next person, please put your hands together. The founder and CEO of Institute for Earth-Based Living. We talked about the connection to the earth. We need it. And she is an interdisciplinary artist, scientist, researcher focusing on the food system. It's all about sustainability, holistic wellness, and cultural change. With a PhD in environmental studies, come on up to the stage, Dr. Hillary Booker. Hillary, congratulations to you. You'll get that award shortly, but thank you for everything you're doing in society. As we move along, the next person who on stage today at Education 2.0 is the stage principal at Asamai International School, a recognized IB institution in Amman, Jordan, with a background as an IB graduate and MYP business management teacher. She is passionate about education. She leads by example. She inspires and empowers educators and envisions a future where every student can reach their full potential and positively impact the world. I love this. Put your hands together. Karen Basher. Time to shine. That's enabling the educators. It's fantastic. We're talking about everything here. You're missing a good time. I'm trying to get them to stay. So, as we continue, accolades to the next recognized professional and what they do for the education sector. Please do put your hands together for the founder and director of X-Form Learning Private Limited, with a certified executive coach, the expertise in sales performance improvement. He catalyzes the world as he changes and empowers his professionals to unleash their potential. He delivers over 1,200 hours. You want me to 5? That's it? You ready? All right. Put your hands together. He's ready for stage. Kushik Chatterjee. Congratulations.
Yeah, so I just prepared an acceptance speech, but I forgot to bring the paper. So I'll speak out from my heart. And like every award, so obviously I owe it to a lot to my beautiful wife who's sitting out here, because I took a decision 10 years before to quit my cushy corporate job and to begin a journey. And today I'm here in front of all of you. I really want to thank the coaches who created a safe space for me. I wanted to thank all the mentors who tormented me. And I want to thank the customers who said, Kaushik, go ahead, I trust you. And I want to thank all of you who chose this to be in the moment, in the room, to be part of this journey. But I have a dream and a song to sing, and I'm not going to sing the song. Like we have right to education for every children, I dream of a right to happy careers. That every children going into the academia has a chance to actually go into the right course, so that the industry does not have a problem to say you are 20% non-employable. So maybe if we correct the feeder part of it. And I know I'm not the only one who's dreaming. You are all with me. Thank you so much for being with here. Namaste.
Congratulations. Thank you. The attitude of gratitude is strong in this room, right? I say it to my kids, attitude of gratitude. You'll keep on receiving if you got it, right? So I love it. I feel it. It's a strong energy in this room, and I thank each and every one of you. Thank you through those leaders and those moments to really embrace that. And no doubt, behind every strong man is a woman. So there we go. Okay. Next up on the stage, please put your hands together to the Master Ambassador, Chairman, and Spokesperson of Utrecht University, English Master, Stud Eck International, a marine scientist, graduate, a climate change enthusiast, dedicated to developing carbon emission reduction strategies, passionate about equal access to education. He runs the English Master Program, promoting informal schooling and organizing international webinars. Put your hands together for Mohammed Rizki Nanda Haju. right, did you want to say a couple words? All right, yes, yes, trifecta, yes.
Good afternoon Dubai, and selamat malam Indonesia. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Oh.
Being raised in a family who is less privileged may be find difficult to have an access to education. My family always told me to have a bravery for changing my life. I'm standing here today because I believe in my dream and I'm living in it. And through my platform, English Master and Youth for Education, make me dedicate myself to always inspire Indonesian youth, especially for those in need. And as marine science master graduate, I was always combine education and environment as we are facing climate change issue. And thank you, special for Indonesian government, especially Bangga Regency, Mr. Amiruddin Tamoreka, and Bapak Syafruddin for your support and ensure a wider access of education in Bangga. And lastly, congratulations. Congratulations to all of us because we have been working so hard in the field of education where we can make a difference in everyone's life. And that's really beautiful. That's beyond powerful. Thank you.
Well said. Thank you, and congratulations, Mohammed. You're right, absolutely right. This room is impacting the world, there's no doubt. Congratulations. Next up to the stage to be recognized for all they do in education is the founder and CEO of Demi Bumi Palu, a social startup dedicated to promoting sustainability development and raising awareness about environmental issues. Most important, through Demi Bumi Palu, she engages in both online and offline initiatives to educate and inspire individuals to a better environment and contribute to the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. Please put your hands together for Putri Xaviera.
This opportunity. Thank you. Okay, looking to the previous last year recognitions, it was filled with highly experienced and expertise individuals. So it's hard to believe that I got these recognitions. However, to my delight that they got me a new category, Young Leadership Award, and now I'm much more confident for this new category by this recognitions that it shows that age never be a barrier to contribute and making a positive impacts. I know there are thousands and millions young leaders out there, including my team, Demi Bumi Palu. You are such amazing leaders as yourself and to our community, and this awards is also for you. And I'm so honored to be here surrounded by you, and I do learn a lot from you, from experts and highly experienced individuals. And as youth, I see this, we have a tremendous homework for our future and for our earth. And it just pushed me and inspired me to be a better young leaders for that the world need in the future. And last but not least, for my mom and my big brother, thank you for being such an amazing support system for me to be here. You guys really means a lot. Thank you.
Wonderful, congratulations. We're from Indonesia. Her mom's in the audience. Where is she? Where is Mom? Where is she over there? Had a great lunch with them. Hi, Mom. Thanks for your support. There she is in the middle of the room. Good job. Good job, Mom. Give her a round of applause. A good mom in the room here to support her daughter. Love the family support. We move along. We got more recognition to get through. This is fun. Please put your hands together for the founder of Lawpreneurs, and founder My Teacher, the revolutionary education. Lawpreneurs offers a comprehensive learning experience for law students through video lectures, notes, live classes, and one-to-one with Found My Teacher. Please put your hands together to the gentleman to my right, Renu Kakar. Well done and congratulations. Music. Time to shine. You don't mind? Come on down.
Thank you so much, Rachel. I'm going to keep this short and crisp. I'd like to thank Education 2.0. It is truly a humbling experience for someone like me who was a horrible student back in school and in law school to receive an award amongst educators from around the world. I dedicate this award to each and every educator out there who resonated with my vision and decided to come on board for both the ventures that I run. Thank you so much.
Congratulations. Well done. Whoa. All right. We're moving along. Anyone connect with him on LinkedIn? Sometimes you see them, they didn't get up here on the panel, but you're like, wow, this is amazing what you're doing. I want to know more. Connect. Watch YouTube later. You can rewind. You can see it all over again. Remember everyone's name. But it's also in that catalog that you have that each one of you guys got. Next up, please put your hands together. We have a founder of Learning Buds, a global initiative enhancing soft skills in children. Very, very important, with a background in financial services and a mission to prepare future generations. She mentors educators worldwide. Here she comes, Ritika Aron. Congratulations. You're welcome. Don't worry, I'm not going anywhere.
I knew you were coming for me. Thank you so much, Rachel. You're doing a fantastic job.
Thank you.
Thank you, Education 2.0, for honoring me. And this award is really for everybody who has supported me in this journey. My hardworking team, who's back home, all the customers, the clients, the parents, all my students, and my two biggest cheerleaders, who are my two little girls. They're back home waiting for me. Thank you so much.
Congratulations. Well done. Well done. Incredible. Don't you want to know more? You know, keep it like, wow, you know, really, there's so many people in this room that you really, I'm blown away by just the expertise and the amount of impact they're making, right? Incredible. Let's give it up for another person, shall we? An Associate Dean of Student Affairs at CUNY Business of Law. She provides visionary leadership and an oversight of student affairs, career planning, and community partnerships to support student well-being and foster a culture of belonging. We all need her. She's here. Put her hands together. Reverend Dr. Yvette Wilson Barnes. Woo! I hear yelling in the background. All right. Come on up, New York. Well done. Well done.
James Baldwin once said that the paradox of education is precisely this: that as one begins to become conscious, one begins to examine the society in which they are receiving that education. All the education and the accolades that I have received mean absolutely nothing if it does not contribute to making a difference in the lives of all the students that I have impacted over the many years. I'm grateful to my husband who is here, Pastor Arthur Barnes. I get to be a lifelong learner with him and to lead transformation. And I'm also grateful to Education 2.0 and all the institutions that I've worked at. Union Theological Seminary for 9 years as Associate Dean, and as an Associate Dean at CUNY School of Law for 4 years. So I am now in Suffolk, Virginia, no longer in New York City, and launched my higher ed leadership consulting practice called Regal Leadership Consulting. I'm grateful that I get to be here with you, to learn from you, to engage with you. I like the fact that we are innovators of education in this room. And so I celebrate you as I accept this award. Thank you so much.
Congratulations. Oh, be careful with those stairs, everyone. But I'm sure there are plenty of people that you have impacted from New York to Virginia to the rest of the world and America that are watching you achieve this award and just rooting for you. That's why I say share these videos. You all have a fan club. You're touching tons of lives, and they want to root for you. So that's why I say these moments, while you're standing here shining bright, make sure you share so that you can feel that from your community. Okay? It's one of the best parts about being alive. I'd like to then acknowledge the next recipient of the owner of Alive Digital, a company who's revolutionizing digital marketing education with a background in computer engineering and marketing. Please do put your hands together. Who's someone who's an entrepreneur who's started a journey back in 2015 and has trained over 7,000 students worldwide. Alive Digital creates customized e-learning videos offering 2D and 3D. Are you ready? Give it up for Rohit Dio. Congratulations.
So I would like to thank the customers, clients, those who trusted our services, students who loved our videos. So I would like to thank my team, my family. Thank you for this award. Thank you.
Congratulations. As we move along, and the end of day 2 is slowly coming to an end, I know you don't want it to end. It's too good. But we have one more day left tomorrow. I hope to see all your smiley faces then. But it's time to recognize the owner of Sabrina Jackson Enterprise. You know her name, I just said it in my announcement. The people expert is coming up with a master's degree from Wayne State University. At the age of 23, she was a renowned trainer for corporates. Come on up here, Sabrina Jackson. Give her a round of applause for everything you do, for making an impact to the world around you. It's time to shine for the world to see. Oh yeah, girl, I want to hear about, your book, all this good stuff.
All my good stuff?
Yeah.
All I want to say is that every single thing that I do, I care. And CARE is an acronym. The C is you must be coachable, because how do you get better if can't nobody tell you nothing? The A, you said it, you have to have an attitude of gratitude. And what I've learned is if you're grateful, you can't complain. And if you're complaining, you can't be grateful. So you choose. The R is you be righteously responsible. If you did it, say you did it, and then can't nobody hold it over your head because you tell your truth better than anybody else can. And then the E, I used to say, embrace excellence. But what I've learned is if you embrace it, you can let it go. So now I say embody excellence. I bring my A game to every game.
All right, girl. Wonderful. She has spoken for so many different high-level platforms from McDonald's on down. She has a great story. You got to catch her on the Amazon Prime movie Teen Marriage. Wow, girl, you got a whole nother hat. We're changing hats left, right, and center here on stage. You've had a number of our speakers talk about the number of hats that they wear, right? Okay, we're getting through this. Next person to be recognized today on this stage, 2.0, is the COO and Business Development Manager at the German Institute of Business Coaching and Mental Training. As the CEO of Savvy Studios, she specializes in consulting startups and entrepreneurs, providing customized business programs in multiple languages. Here she comes. Give her a round of applause, Sarah Musavi. Well done and congratulations. Okay, you're welcome. Congratulations. Take that picture, put that plaque somewhere good that you can see it. Remind yourself of that hard work you do. Next up is the founder and CEO of Dire to Hire Solutions, India's leading career coach. He has impacted over 200,000 career professionals through your job search. He is a great moderator, the last one we saw. So please, he's a mission to 1 million individuals, help them land their dream job. Give him up for Sawan Kapoor. Congratulations.
Well, I'll keep it short. It really takes a village to raise a child, and I think I just got lucky. I have a great village. My thanks to God, my thanks to my parents and my family, my sister. My thanks to my wonderful team, Devi Bhavani, Deepa Shankar, Shraddha Mahavir, Jana S., Selva M., Abhinav Atreya, and Nanda Kishore. Without this team, I would not be able to do what I do. And to my partners, Suren and Praveen, it took, believing in me to give me this platform. We are today a part of an ecosystem that is India's largest webinar and seminar company. My biggest thanks goes to my beautiful wife sitting here. She dances the dance of life with me every day. And, it says my name here, but it should say hers.
Aww.
Thank you so
Wonderful.
much. Have a great conference.
Congratulations. Congratulations. If she wasn't photographing, I'd tell her, bring her up here next time, would you? Right? Fantastic. Well done. Well done, really. Love to see this. We have such family support in this region. Just beautiful. Only a few more left to recognize today. Next person is the founder of Wing Resilience Success Coaching from Hong Kong, the chairman of G100 Global Networking. She's an author, a speaker, a podcast host, empowering women and children worldwide to boost joy, confidence, and bliss for her life. She's following up on stage. Before I even announce her name, please give it up for Shirley Chow. Time to shine.
Okay. I'm one of those people who don't have a parent anymore to thank, so I want to thank all the hundreds of thousands of kids and amateurs, adults from age 4 to 70 in the last 20 years or so, particularly in Hong Kong in the last 12, 13 years, of teaching me how to really be the person who can give back. And in giving back every day, every second, then I find out why I'm alive. Then I can be confident in helping them and then helping myself, and also really embracing joy and bliss from moment to moment. So thank you to all the students who have helped me in this journey of discovery and recovery. And also thank you for staying here, and I enjoy meeting all of you. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Charlie. Congratulations. Well done. Well done. She's had a smile on her face since yesterday morning. Really, some people are just shining throughout their time here, really having a good time. Next up is the founder and leadership coach at Wisdom Marquee Private Limited. She's a Marshall Goldsmith certified leadership coach and NLP practitioner, dedicated to helping clients achieve desired results through mindset and would you like to say something? Oh, yes. All right.
Thanks a lot for the Education 2 conference for arranging such a wonderful event to recognize everybody's hard work for decades and for years. I'm really honored and humbled to take this award. First of all, I would like to thank God for giving me this opportunity. My mom, who really believed in me, because none of in the world believed when I was a school student, and one of my colleagues already said he was not a great student, so was me also. In the schools, I was not very good in studies and academics, but I was a very hardworking guy. So later on, I realized that I was not doing well in schools, so that I can really understand how a dumb guy can think. So then I really understood why God made me that much dumb during the school, so that tomorrow in the future, I can teach to the level of every level of the students. Only the dumbest student can understand the highest level of intelligence. So then came my schools, where I finished my economics with school first rank, and there was no stopping from that time. I've done more than 25 certifications across the globe, thanks to my teacher, thanks to my mom, thanks to my family. And after getting educated, I thought I should work in the academia also, because something told me that go and train the students who are suffering to understand the concepts. So after I graduated, I joined the industry and worked for the last 25 years. Believe me, in this last 25 years, I spent 20 years only on part-time teaching during the weekends. I landed in this country in 2002. Within a month, I started giving a part-time teaching, and I've completed more than 27,000 hours of part-time training in the last 2 decades, where I have not got my PhD yet. I don't want to get it because I want to be a learner always through my life. I thank once again for all of the people who was behind me for the success, and good luck for all of you, and wish you more laurels to come to you also in the future. Thanks a lot.
Congratulations. Well done for everything you do. Well, ladies and gentlemen, let's give the doctor a round of applause. Thank you very much, Dr. Andrew. Thank you for joining us today in our room. I hope to see you again soon.
Sure, my pleasure.
Okay, thank you so much for being here. Now, I hate to say this, but it's coming to the end of our day 2. Let me see from a show of hands, who connected with some new people today? Fantastic, look at this. Who's really looking forward to connect with more people tomorrow? Fantastic, even better. Well, this event wouldn't be possible without our phenomenal sponsors, so let me give them a shout out. We are grateful. It's a room of gratitude. And our sponsors, Consultancy Group, and for international education, thank you for making this possible. Agile Evolutionary Group, you have played a vital role in making this event a resounding success. I want to thank every single family member that is here to support their loved ones with the recognition they have received. It is with your love and support that they are here together today. So do not underestimate how important love is. I want to thank every one of the educators that impact the students around them. You are the heroes for so many of your students that you may not even know. I think it's been incredible last 2 days. We got one more day of fun. We have a lot to learn from new people around the globe. And as I say, the networking session of Education 2.0 just is beginning after this. So a golden opportunity to make meaningful connections, establish mentorships, and expand our opportunity to collaborate. At Education 2.0, we love you being here. I love being your host, and I hope you are enjoying your day and continue to enjoy Dubai tonight. I see you all tomorrow. Have a wonderful, wonderful evening. Thank you again for being here. And best of luck to everyone for a fabulous night. See you tomorrow.